Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WOR, but the legacy division side of things. I am Warder Zero. So there's been a little bit of a mix-up with commentary so far to the beginning of the season. However, I am joined by a very, very capable commentator who's probably going to get me through most of this race at Singapore, and that is Callum G. Callum, welcome along.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. It's good to be back for another round of the Legacy Division. We've been treated to 3 fantastic rounds so far this season. Here at Singapore tonight, it's a little bit of a different one. You don't see Singapore often in league racing, so yeah, it's a unique one tonight, and it'll be interesting to see over the next 2 hours how this one plays out.
It is going to be a very, very tough race for these guys out there. But can anyone stop the FRA juggernaut at the moment? We'll have to wait and see on that one. We've got the calendar on the grid on the screen at the moment, and obviously we are round 4 Singapore, and then next week Saudi. I can't believe I'm missing Saudi Arabia. I love that track. It's always proved absolutely incredible. But that's neither here nor there on that side at all. And you know, it's really interesting to see this as an esports competition with these guys down. I don't want to say the lower end, but the Xbox end. It's not the main stuff that we're used to, but there are some incredibly quick drivers here.
Yeah, there definitely is, and there's maybe also drivers in here that aren't used to this kind of calibre, maybe your tier 2, tier 3 drivers in your main WR league, and it gives them a great opportunity, a great platform to go and showcase their skills. Maybe you've even had a few drivers in here just for certain tracks, maybe like tonight in Singapore. It's a bit different, it's a bit unique. You might just see drivers make a 1 or 2 off appearance this season just for certain tracks, and it just gets their name out there, it gives their chance, and that's what just makes this league that bit special.
So we'll wait and see for these guys to come onto track. We'll give them a little bit of time. Obviously, unfortunately, a little bit of news for the VSR side of things. There is a few bits of penalties for them that we found out before, and poor VSR have been handed a tough draw. They've got a grid penalty tonight as well as a qualifying ban, I believe.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So it's a qualifying ban for Clenzo tonight, and then VSR Finn will also get a 10 place grid penalty. So I think the way it's going to work tonight is after qualifying, the lobby will get stopped, then restarted for the race, so then the 10 place grid penalty can be applied to VSR Finn. Unfortunately for the 2 VSR guys as well racing tonight, Clenzo and Finn haven't raced too much this season. I know this is Clenzo's debut for VSR, so he's serving penalties from another driver's incident. So yeah, it's a tough one for these guys tonight. Singapore as well, it's not the easiest track to make overtakes. However, if anyone can do it, these 2 guys are very much capable of doing so.
Definitely, and after his performance on Monday night for the Tier 1 of WR League Racing as well, I am really interested to see how VSR Finn can get himself through the grid, as Clenzo's retired from the session. Yes, so that was his qualifying ban. I just got confused a little bit there. But let's have a look at the standings quickly. And FRA are currently 11 points clear of PSR. They're the 2 main rivals on this WR Legacy Division standings, and it's going to be interesting to see how they come up against as good as Otis Lawrence is. PSR have got some good drivers as well.
Yeah, I think FRA will probably be slightly disappointed with this. You know, they've got 87 points this season, but 77 of those points coming from Otis Lawrence. They've really had a bit of issues, a bit of bad luck with that other driver that isn't Otis racing. I think it was Abu Dhabi Matthew spun in last week as well. I think it was Piste. He was P5 and got spun out in the last lap. And it's just points like that, they're just kind of thrown away. And PSR, as much as they've not won a race yet, they're always in the points, they're always getting top 5, top 6s. And over the first 3 rounds so far, it has accumulated and probably made this Constructors battle a little bit closer than probably FRA would have wanted.
Definitely. I completely agree with that one. But we are getting some drivers out on track now. And we are doing the full qualifying. If you haven't watched any of the other races we've had this season for WRLD, and it's really a race of attrition here at Marina Bay Street Circuit. It is a massive circuit, one of the longest on the calendars, 23 corners, tight, tricky, but still open to overtaking opportunities as well.
Yeah, that's what makes it so good, isn't it? There's a bit of tight and twisty, it's technical, but then as you can see, you can overtake, and it's a long one tonight. You know, we're going to be here for about 2 hours, so these guys have to be on it. They have to be able to turn on that focus on and off. For qualifying, they have to be on it, and on the race laps, they have to make every margin count, and in the race as well, it's a long race. They cannot afford to make any mistakes.
LCR Leopard leaving the session, that's never a good thing on that side. But ETE Andrea, is that correct? That must be correct. I'm
Yeah.
obviously seeing double at the moment, but for some unknown reason. But into just about to start his their lap time, I should say, and going very wide as the Alpine driver, and it's taking what is classed as the esports line, because we don't usually see real F1 drivers take it that far outside of the white lines.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, isn't it? But that's kind of what has to happen. You have to make every little margin count, and that's what he's doing fantastically. There is Andrea. So yeah, we're interested to see what he can do this lap time coming through the first sector split there. It's a 1:27.0. I'm not too sure how good that is, but we'll see as this session progresses. It's been a pretty nice lap so far. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he can come up with over the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Q1, obviously, these guys are going to be pushing as hard as they can, but also I think some of them maybe, I don't want to say, there's Andrea going very, very wide. I think that was out of turn 10, and it's just clipped the back end, but I don't know how much time he would have lost there, but I was going to say, I don't know how many of these drivers actually would show their full potential in Q1.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it's maybe for some people it's just about getting a lap, and if you've got that luxury, with no disrespect to Andrea, I would like to think he would just be really happy with getting into Q2, so he's going to be having to give it his all. So I think a lap time like that with that mistake there in the middle sector, I think he will probably be struggling. We'll stick aboard with Alpine coming through the final corners now. He'll be the first man to set a lap time coming through the final corner now. These are the final last two corners, 22 and 23, double left. He comes across the line now. It's a 1 minute 38.2. So that is the benchmark for the other drivers.
Yeah, his teammate then is also on a lap time, and that's ETE Passy as he comes through, halfway through Sector 3. And you think halfway through Sector 3 and it would be nearly to the end of the race, but it's nowhere near. Each sector is really, really long, especially Sector 3. It just seems to be continually windy, and obviously under the bridge, or under the stands there at turns 18 to 21. But across the line comes Passy, and it's a 37.6 for him, 0.6 of a second quicker than his teammate currently.
Yeah, then actually G now coming to his lap in the Haas. Let's see what he can do, if he can try and displace the ETE driver sitting first and second. Andrea with that 38, probably he can get beaten. I'm pretty sure of that one, but let's see where Max you can go, and it is top of the timings. It's a 1:37.582.
Not a bad time for him. Sorry, Pat Ledger then is on a lap, and let's see how quick he can go. He's just going through the end of Sector 2 now, and this will give us an indication if the timing screen is working properly, but it didn't give us any sort of information on that, so it doesn't show if it's purple or not. So I might think that it's probably not going to be as quick as Maxi at the moment.
Yeah, it might not be, but interesting to see though, as he comes down to his lap as well. Just notice as well, the two main boys, FRA Matthew and Otis Lawrence, are out for their out lap as well, pretty early on in the session for their standards. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what lap time they can set come the time of that one.
Across the line for the Aston Martin driver, and it's P3 for the time being, a 38.2. So not too bad, but not beating the times just yet. Let's see who is next out on the lap. Is it the FRA guys? I think it's the FRA. Which one is first? It is Otis Lawrence. Let's see what he can do. Man, that seems to be on an absolute mission in the Xbox tiers of any league that he races at the moment, and he just wants to win everything he can. And at the moment, some might say he's pretty unstoppable if he starts anywhere in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the only time he's not won a race in Xbox was in Silverstone just last week, and that was because of a qualifying ban, and he started at the back of the grid. And I think he still finished 5th or something around that area. So yeah, Otis, he's unbelievable this year. He's been very dominant in everywhere he goes, and it's been really evident. And I think it'll be once again evident tonight. I don't want to make it sound boring, but if it all goes to plan for him, he will win this race. It's just as simple as that. He is unstoppable at the moment.
And FRA Matthew actually had a decent race on Monday as well. See if it continues. I think he's just bogged down a little bit with maybe a little bit of expectation of doing well. He is a very quick driver, and at some tracks he can be just as quick as Otis.
Yeah, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in Xbox WR Tier 2 last season at the end of the game, so his improvement's been incredible, you know. So I think that is still definitely evident. I think he shouldn't let himself kind of be bogged down by expectation, comparing himself to Otis, because Otis is just ridiculous. But anyway, we'll stick on board with Otis at the moment, coming through turns 16 and 17 now, the most technical part of the track, and this is where it probably gets the most important. Bartek Fraz sets the professional fastest lap with a 1 minute 37 flats. So let's see what Otis Lawrence can do now. He's done this very nice little lap. It doesn't look like he's been pushed to the limits, but he's kept it on the track. He's been keeping it clean and cool, and I think this could be a pretty good lap to send him to the top of the timing boards. Coming through the final 2 corners now, let's see what lap time it is for the Mercedes. Comes across the line, and it's a 1 minute 36.3.
That is ridiculous from the FRA team member there, and his teammate crosses the line in P2, still some 6/10 of a second. And it's crazy to think that Otis has done that without really, by the looks of things, pushing on his lap time. Let's go on board with the McLaren driver of GGYT Magician as he comes around at Sector 2. His teammate is just up ahead of the road as well, so it'll be interesting to see what these two drivers and what their lap times compare with, if it's going to be as such a large gap as the two Mercedes drivers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, BRT are new to this division, so they'll be looking to pick up early points. Slightly disappointing last week, but they'll be looking to bounce back. And there you have it. It's a P4 for him at 1 minute 37.4.
So who else can we go on board with? The two ERL guys then in P3 and P4 there. Let's see what Quantum can do. He's saying it's purple in Sector 2, but the Alfa Romeo driver now into this technical part of Sector 3, like you mentioned a little bit earlier on. Let's see how he can handle Q1. And the trouble that these guys are going to have is, obviously it's repetitive, obviously doing the same things over and over again, but in a race you kind of build up your immunity to just slight drop-offs. But in qualifying you have to, well, there's always a gap between each lap, each push lap that you're doing, and then if you're out early doors in Q1 then it's even worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I do kind of echo that, and it just kind of echoes the challenges of what Singapore's like, what a full qualifying session is like as well. It's slightly different to what you normally see in league racing with a traditional short qualifying. But anyway, I'm sticking on board with Levi Asbit at the moment in the Williams, currently P16, no lap time, so his name's just come around the final 2 corners now, the double left-hander. Let's see what lap time it is for the Williams, and it's P2, very nice indeed there, at 1 minute 36.4.
Splitting the two Mercedes is the Williams drivers. That's an interesting one there for those guys. Let's who else it could be on a lap time? I think Leopard's just about to start a lap time, so let's go on BRT Luca. Then currently P20, no lap time set. McLaren driver coming through. He doesn't seem to take turn 20, hit the apex. He doesn't get to the curb as much, and obviously something wasn't right with that lap because he darts into the pit lane. Is it Piccolo then? Is he coming to just come to an end of a lap time? Let's see what he can do. I think Finn also is on a lap time as well. So let's stay on board with Finn, actually. Let's see how he can do. He showed some great pace on Monday night in the WR Tier 1 League. Can he do anything in the Legacy Division on a Friday night here? And it's P4 for him, faster than Matthew.
Yeah, Piccolo coming across the line now as well. Let's see what he can set. It's only P12 for the Red Bull, and I do have to say it, but that definitely has to be improved if he wants to see himself going into qualifying too.
Let's go on board then with Amin. I think that is a Haas driver. It looks like he's going quite slow actually through turn 6 there, that little kink, but game says purple. Otis is retired, so he's happy.
Yeah, that just shows how good he is, doesn't it? I think he's done that a few times before this season. I think he's even done it in Q2. But yeah, it's, I think even Levi, Scythe, and maybe Finn could all probably retire as well. They're just that bit better at the moment, that bit clearer, and especially Otis. He is more than comfortable with the lap time he has set.
So what do you, from your expert opinion, what do you think the cut-off will be for Q1 this week? I think we're looking probably, personally, maybe a 1:37.54.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. I think 0.5 is looking roughly where it's going to be. I think it's very dependent on what these guys set at the moment. We've got a few drivers still get to set a lap time, one of them being Amine. I think that's how you pronounce it. The man currently sitting in 16th at the moment for the Haas team of Novich Racing. They made their debut last week, and it's a great debut, to be honest with you. 4 points to the name already of them, and that is pretty good going considering you're a debutant team, one of the 12th or 11th teams who actually qualified. So yeah, I think 4 points on their debut must be pretty good with that. So let's see what they can see. Anime can set now, come around the final 2 corners. Where can he put that Haas? and it is P10, so it's pretty good lap time there, and I think that might just be through.
That could very well be a decent setup time for him to get himself through, but these guys are going to go quicker and quicker. Who else is on a lap time? It looks like it's only Harris at the moment, as he coming through into turn 5 now. It really does put me a little bit with some of these kinks that are classed as corners. Just after 4 to 5, there's a little kink, or after 4, but before 5 there's a little kink, and they don't call that a corner, but turn 6 is a kink and it's a corner. So yeah, I do get a little bit frustrated my side, but that's my complaint over and done with for now. But let's see what Harris can do now into sector 2 as he runs down into the old Singapore sling.
Yep, that'll be interesting to see what Harris can do here, but Harris, he's been fantastic all season, to be honest with you. He's only raced 2 rounds, but it's been 2 P4s to his name, 12 points, 24 points overall on the board for the driver, and yeah, that's really good for VLX as well. They really appreciate those points, I'm sure, as well. So yeah, to be sitting in P17 with only a few minutes left in this session, it certainly puts some unnecessary pressure on him, I'd imagine, especially when you look at his teammate Quantum in P9 as well. You'd like to think his teammates through it, so Harris, a little bit of work to do now coming through this final sector. This is a technical bit, this is a bit where all the time can be gained and lost. Coming into turn 18 and 19, they're really slow. It can be painfully slow at points, trying to make the most of the track, trying to use all of the track if you can, and then coming out into turn 20 and 21, he's missing the curbs, and does it look like he's backed off? I'm not too sure. He doesn't look like he's pushing an awful lot. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe he's going to set a great lap time here coming through the final corner now. What lap is it for VLX Harris? And it's P7, so there you have it. What do I know? A 36.9.
Yeah, that's worked out for him in the end, and BRT Luca is not having the best of lucks at all, because he's invalidated his second run, and now he has to use these tyres again. Connor reckons he is safe with a 37.1. We've got Steve, Andrea, Piccolo, or Piccolo, is it? Piccolo, Pat Ledger,
Piccolo, I think, yeah.
Passy and Maxi, all in the danger zone, we think, at the moment. I think Magician might be safe. It really does depend how these guys get their pace together. But at the moment, it's not looking good for those guys at the bottom, and Luca is really struggling.
Yeah, it really is. It looks like it could be out this session. I'm not too sure how long there is. The yellow flag is blocking it, but yeah, look up. It's not been a good session for him at all for BRT, and yeah, that's a shame for them. Steve as well. He'll be looking to try and set a lap time on the board after 18 minutes, still not getting a lap time. Once again, leaving a lot to be done as well in ETA. Andrea, he's starting the lap as well, and Shizu Piccolo as well. For Shizu, he'll definitely be looking to try and get out of this bottom 5.
Let's go on board with the McLaren driver of GGYT Magician, as he's currently P12, probably going to try and push to get himself a little bit higher up. Amin, as the HSR driver there, has retired, so he's happy with a 37.4. That could be a little bit of a dangerous game he's playing there, seeing as there is 0.2 between him and Quantum in P10, and everyone else is likely to improve in these final throws of Q1. Magician then into, just about to start Sector 3. Let's have a look at his split time. He's only just quicker than his previous lap time, 0.001. The McLaren driver's got a little bit to do in Sector 3, as he's taken, I think, gone quite deep into turn 16 there, which could cost him hugely, but he's taken the twisty bit of 18 and 19 much better.
Yeah, he definitely has. It'll be interesting to see what he can do here. 40 seconds left on the clock, so it's now or never for the McLaren. I think an improvement probably isn't necessary, but it definitely wouldn't harm anyone, would it? And he comes across line, and it is a 300 improvement. It doesn't gain him any positions, but that time it could be crucial come the end of this session.
Yeah, it could be absolutely incredibly crucial, as Maxi is just about to restart a lap time. He wasn't happy with that one, so I'm not sure what is going on here. He actually doesn't look like he's going to go. Is he going to do a lap?
Oh, I'm not too sure. Is he building up speed? But I mean, it's not ideal, is it? He's not really got the speed you would ideally want for it. But yeah, he is with 5 seconds left in the clock. He does get across the line, crucially. So yeah, he just about got a lap time in there. BRT looking like he's a man coming to the end of his lap. He'll be looking to get a lap time on the board, and ideally a below a 37.582, because if he does that, he'll be into Q2 for the time being. Coming out of turn 21, it is down now the double left of 22 and 23. He's got to ultimately look at what can he put on the plan. It's a big spin, but he spins across the line, and then it's not a good way to end the lap. There's a 38 flat, and unfortunately for Luca, he is out of qualifying.
And Steve does exactly the same thing. But what a way to end qualifying for the McLaren driver, doing an exactly the 1 minute 38 seconds. Couldn't get any better than that. But we do have a Red Bull driver still on track who is in the danger zone, and that is the Shizou driver. What can he do? He's got a lot of work to do to get himself out of the danger zone. Clenzo obviously for serving the qualifying ban in P20 there at the moment. It is quicker, but I don't think it's going to be quick enough to get himself out of the danger zone here in Singapore.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he can do that. He's also got Max G on the lap time as well in P15. He's just right on the cut-off, so that Haas might also improve his time as well. But the Red Bull, he's got it all to do for Shizou as well. Shizou, big team, they'll be looking to get into Q2 at least here, so yeah, slightly disappointing performance from Piccolo so far, but he can change it all here, coming through the penultimate corner, and then the final corner, he comes across line. Where did they put that Red Bull? And he is just out by the slimmest of margins. It's P16 for the Red Bull.
And Maxi did improve anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. But Magician then going straight into the pits, and I think he was quite lucky with that. And there we have it. That is qualifying over and done with. Well, Q1 of qualifying over and done with. And Steve, the only driver who didn't set a lap time that was meant to set a lap time, I should say. And BRT Luca then going out in style, spinning. But without that spin, I think he may. That spin cost him massively. He probably would have got through.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, I don't think spinning is ever ideal. But let me check the sector split times anyway. So you said a 26.9 and a 37.1. I'll compare it to Maxi G, who said a 26.9 and a 37.3. So yeah, if that last sector was going well, I think probably would have seen Luca through into qualifying too. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't spin going across the line, and you might go into Q2.
The simple answer there, but it's always harder than it seems. But let's see who are the drivers that get through qualifying one here in Singapore WR LD, and that's Matthew, who I completely didn't notice got the fastest lap time at some point through all that. Otis in second, Levi in third, Scyther in fourth, fifth place going to Leopard, Finn in sixth, Harris in seventh, eighth is Bart Fraser, ninth is Andrea, 10th Quantum, 11th Connor, Passy in 12th, 13th Amin, Maxi 14th, and Magician in 15th place. With people going out is Piccolo, Pat Ledger, Luca, Steve, and obviously Clenzo. Now, any surprises out of that for you, Callum?
I think maybe the big one would probably be Piccolo, just because of that Shizou name. Shizou, they're fourth in the stands at the moment. They're a good team, but yeah, I think getting out in Q1 is pretty poor for a Shizou driver standards, I think.
Yeah, especially when they're, Shizou, like you say, big name. They've got a big driver in Leopard there as well, on that side of things as well. But we'll wait and see. Those 5 drivers have now got to, steady themselves and get themselves back ready for the race. Obviously, they have a little bit of a rest period now. They can, do whatever they want for the next, half hour? But then they've got to be back ready in the right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Something's going to highlight as well there. Matthew, as you mentioned, improved later on in the session. So he done 2 runs in Q1, which is kind of contrast to a lot of the guys. Otis only done the 1. So I wonder if Matthew also used 2 sets of tyres there as well. I'm not too sure if he did. Maybe it was an old set, but it's just food for thought, just in case if Matthew did use a second set there, that might just kind of come to bite him back later on in the qualifying runs.
Yeah, very, very odd decision if that was the case as well. Finn, I think, is going to be the first driver out on circuit, and he's got a lot of work. Actually, he's not the first guy out on circuit, so we will. I think it's Levi Williams driver. We'll go back to the normal screen and let's get this one back underway. And Levi then, the Williams driver, looking pretty quick from Q1 standard.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's a quick driver. I think he's raced before in WOR. LD, I could be wrong, so don't completely quote me on that one. But yeah, Levi, he's a really quick driver, and I think that's kind of what PSR need, is they need two very quick drivers. They've got Cypher doing it week in, week out. He's always going to be there. Maybe not quite beating Otis every week, but definitely being the second man to him. So it's good to see PSR having a really good second driver. Where I think we've seen it with PSR Connor last week as well. He was really impressive last week. So yeah, Levi once again here at Singapore is doing a great job so far.
Yeah, we'll watch and see. From his perspective, he'll be the first one as long as he doesn't invalidate. And considering it's a street track, invalidations aren't uncommon here.
Yeah, it is strange, isn't it? Because you would think walls are the kind of track limit, but it's not really the way it works. You know, there's kind of strange points where the track limits is decided by the white line, even though there's a wall right next to it. It's a little bit odd, and yeah, I think that's why we've seen a lot of drivers in Q1 struggle to get a lap time. It's probably the first time in the 3 rounds that I've commentated to seen drivers struggle so much with invalidations, oddly enough. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see tonight if it kind of continues in Q2 or Q3, or if that kind of pattern's gone now we're into Q2.
And here comes Levi. He's crossing the last 2 corners now, across the line to start his qualifying lap in Q2. He'll be the first one. He obviously, I think, kind of wants to make a statement as well. I think that'll be the reason why he's gone out early, is to try and, well, put most drivers off, because you can't. I don't think there is a way to put Otis off at the moment. He's just on that sort of form. But maybe just to set a lap time that he can maybe sit back and relax on and go, I might not need to go out again this session, and save using a different set of tyres unless he's gone on a scrub set for this lap.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think that possibly could be the case. But I think as well, in full qualifying, you see like the track getting quicker quite common, you know. So it's interesting to see Levi going out this early. You normally see people like Elite and all that going out a lot later. Otis Lawrence, as much as he's out right now. In the past, you kind of see him going out maybe with 10, 9, 8 minutes to go when the track's a bit more rubbered in, a bit quicker. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see him out this early on.
The PSR driver then is going to do what he can. It might very well be a scrub set, so that will be the interesting point to, and maybe, you know, who knows, if he's if he takes a decent position, we'll get a podium question out of him and see what his thought process was through all this. But we'll have to wait and see. Through turn 19 he goes, into 20, and he's taken as much of the curb as possible, nearly clips the wall on the exit of 21, and it's pretty much exactly what you want to do when you're going as quickly as he is. It's a 36.9 to start things off with, and I think going from the qualifying last time, I think that's safe. But obviously these drivers are just going to start ramping up the pressure. We'll have to. The only way we can do it is we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a 36.9 was maybe slightly slower than what he'd done last session. I could be wrong, maybe I'm talking rubbish, but I think it was like a 36.4 is professional fastest. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, VSR Finn, he's 10 seconds slower, so not very representative of that time. From the Ferrari, there's referee Matthew comes across line, and he sets a 36.8, and he pushes that boat out by 1/10 faster.
Yeah, Matthew definitely doing. I don't think that's obviously slower than he was before, but I think that was slower than his first lap last time. I think it was a 36.6, if I may be mistaken. Or it might have been a 36.9. So I could very well be mistaken. I probably should start writing some of these stats down. That's what I usually do. But Otis then, he is just about to finish sector 2. Into sector 3 he goes, and he's currently purple, which is quite normal for him, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely is. And talking about going purple, Bartek Fraz sets the professional fastest lap of 1:36.6. Kind of came out of nowhere, if I do say so myself. So yeah, good luck there from him. It really takes the pressure off the ERL driver there. But we'll stick with Otis now. Let's see if he can top the top of the timing board now. And if he can, it would definitely take the pressure off and probably allow him to once again take an easy rest. So let's see it now coming through the final 2 corners. He's given it absolutely everything now. Let's see what the Mercedes sets. Comes across line. It is professional fastest, and wow, what a way to do it. A 1 minute 35.8.
Pretty certain he will not be setting another lap time in Q2. Let's go on board with ETE Passy as he's coming into Sector 3 now. And I just still can't believe the audacity of Otis at times. He is just that quick. And he's probably going to retire because he knows I would, if he's not safe, I'm not sure what I would do, to be perfectly honest. Passy then into turn number 18. He's looking relatively quick from his lap times, from his angles so far, I should say, into each corners. And it looks pretty solid. Can he do a decent lap time? We'll have to wait and see. Finn, the only lap time on the board that isn't competitive. But that looked quicker than a 37.3.
Yeah, well, it's really puts into perspective how good Otis is, doesn't it? A 35.1, 8 tenths quicker than the nearest person in second, and yeah, that just shows you how good he is, doesn't it? You know, the rest of the grid aren't mugs. You know, this is a really impressive grid, one of the best grids on Xbox, and you see Otis Lawrence rocking up and doing what he does. It just puts into perspective how quick this guy really is, and how exciting the future is for Otis.
The Alfa Romeo driver of Quantum then hopping over the curbs, maybe losing a little bit of time on turn 20 into the final two corners, 22 and 23. He comes and across the line, and it's P2 for Quantum. That is a very, very solid lap for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, great stuff there from Quantum. I'm pretty sure he's a tier 2 driver this year, so just like I was talking about earlier on, he's kind of taking his big time now to try and drive about, to try and get in amongst a few of the tier 1 guys. He's taking it very well so far. A good lap, that 36.6, obviously, as you mentioned, putting him P2. So yeah, good stuff there from him. Now on board with LCR Leopard, currently in P15, no lap time to his name, so he'll be trying to set that wrong now, as his teammate has been knocked out in Q1, so he's a solo man. Bosch is doing Q2 now, so he'll be looking to try and get that Red Bull into Q3. He comes across the line now. What lap time is it? It's a 1 minute 36.4, and now he puts himself onto that P2 slot.
Yeah, he's looking very, very solid. His Leopard on this game as a whole, it's looking like the Leopard of old, and he's looking to be one of the few drivers that could compete with Otis on the high level from what I've seen. But let's go on board with the Haas driver and Maxi. He put a lap time tool in the end of Q1, which effectively made him safe. And there you go. Otis has retired. He's happy. He doesn't think he's going to get beaten. It could be, well, it will take a monumental lap for anyone to, well, for all this grid to beat him here. So we will wait and see what everyone else can do. GGYT Magician is still on track as well to set a lap time. But Maxi put himself in P7 with a 37.1. That is considerably quicker than his Q1 time.
Yeah, really good lap time from him there. Definitely puts him in the mix. Just on board with Magician there. A bit of a mistake coming out of turn 16, probably slightly deeper than he'd have probably wanted. Cost him maybe a little bit of lap time. So yeah, he's going to have to try and make that up now coming to the final sector. It's quite cautious from the McLaren. I think I'd be surprised to see this go into the top 10. But you never know. Let's see it coming through the last two corners now. The double left-hander. This McLaren can't get himself into the top 10. He's a little bit wide next, and it's an invalidation on the final corner there. So no lap time improvement. But Scyther up into P2 as well there for PSR. A 36.2.
A solid lap time from Scyther, and I think we're going to have to see Levi do another lap time because we're going to see quicker times rolling in. I don't want to hazard a guess here, but I think Matthew might be safe, but Levi could need that second lap to get him safe through into Q3. But looking at the times at the moment, they are dropping like a stone, so we will have to, well, like always, have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Levi has but they are 5 tenths up on the sector split coming into sector 3, so he's definitely taking that advice on board there. And maybe that early lap just showing you that the track and the conditions have significantly improved since then. So Levi is showing his pace now 5 tenths up. If he can keep that going, he'll probably see himself in the P3 and P4, which would definitely be enough to see himself through into Q3. So let's see what he can do now. Coming through these last few corners, it's nice and cautious. He's keeping it within the white lines, and now he's only got the last two corners of turn 20, 22 and 23 to navigate. Can he keep it within the white lines? Yes, he can. What can he do now? Comes across line for 36 flat. Very good lap time did there from the Williams driver.
The closest to Otis at the moment, and sometimes I'm sure people would say it would be, you know, who would win if Otis wasn't around? But it's a bit harsh to say on Otis because he's going to leave soon, and you know, obviously move to PC at some stage, and you know, we lose these incredible drivers from Xbox. which is such a shame, isn't it? It's like we've nurtured them and then they've gone off. It's like the Piastri Alpine situation.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think that's the story of Xbox. And you even look at F1 esports at the moment, you've got Ronha. I mean, how amazing has he been so far? I know he was unlucky in Bahrain, but he was so good yesterday at Imola, and this is someone that's came from Xbox, very similar to Otis, kind of dominated Xbox, went over to PC, and he continued that form. And yeah, I'm really excited for Otis when he eventually does go to PC, how good he can really be.
Yeah, that is going to be the icing on the cake, so to speak. But let's see what VSR Finn can do. He's just setting himself up for a second lap time, looks like, on these softs. Maybe he didn't like what happened with them before. Very, very slow into those, the tight corners of 18, 19, 20 and 21. But managed to pick up his pace significantly enough to get over through 22 and 23 to ensure he's quick enough through. And there's a few drivers getting themselves out on track now. Matthew, Bart and Harris all coming together to set another lap time. They don't feel safe.
Yeah, I don't blame Matthew for going out at the moment. I think he's probably a little bit at risk. I think a 0.8 is probably not enough at the moment, considering you look at a 0.2 is P10. So yeah, I think Matthew, he'll need to improve here. I think Bartek Fraz is safe for that 0.6. But other than that, I think Matthew, he'll be looking to try and improve on this lap here.
Let's stay on board with Finn. He's the guy that's obviously got a lot of pressure on, plus a 10-place grid penalty for the Ferrari driver as well. That is, well, surely playing in his mind as well, because that will not be what he would have wanted coming into this race. But he's got to contend with it. He didn't get it, but his team did. Sider's retired. He's happy with his lap time. Leopard, interestingly enough, has gone out again.
Oh wow, it's interesting to see that one. So yeah, obviously not content, or maybe he just wants to try and get a feel for the track. I'm not too sure. Anyway, let's see what VSR Finn can do. It would be nice to see him through into Q3. It would definitely maybe let him gain a few positions for his starting place in the race with that 10-place grid penalty. But it comes across the line now, and it is P7 and it is 136.7. That could be tight.
Could very well be tight. 37 is quicker than Matthew. Matthew's probably done the right thing and going out. I don't think Bartak has actually increased his pace. So he is gone back out. Let's see who else. Matthew is on a lap time. Into sector 3 he goes. This is the one that we really need to watch out for. The Mercedes driver, the FRA driver, is under pressure from everyone else in the grid at the moment. A 36.8 is unlikely to be safe for him. He's got to make sure this lap time is quick enough. Through into turn 22. Into 23 goes the Mercedes driver and across the line. It's P3 for him. He's safe now.
Yeah, it definitely is. He turns up when it mattered. The pressure was on, but pressure didn't phase Matthew there. Safely through into qualifying 3. VLX Harris in the Alfa Romeo now currently sitting P12. He needs an improvement if he wants to go through. An improvement is what he got, a 36.5. A great lap there from the Alfa Romeo driver.
Passing out through the last corners as well. Levi's is retired as well. He's happy with how he is, but Passy is out of qualifying with that lap time he has set. Who is next to come across the line? That's Quantum coming across the line. I don't think that is quicker than what he set before. Is that Connor then under pressure? No, that's Bartak Fraser then coming through again. Is he up on his lap time? We'll have to wait and see, because there is a hit on the wall out of the exit of turn 21 for the Alpha Tauri driver, and across he doesn't go quicker. That could be costly for him with that hit on the wall.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I thought it would be safe for that lap, but maybe I could be wrong with that one. But Bartek Fraz's teammate Connor, he's coming to the end of his lap time now. He's sitting P10. He's more than certainly on the cusp, but it looks like he's peeling off into the pit lane, so there's no improvement there for the Alpha Tauri driver. Yeah,
Andrea then could get themselves into... No, they won't, because they're going into the pit lane. He definitely messing with me there. And Maxi's not going to go quick. He's 14th at the moment. So it's Amin. Can he do anything coming through these last few corners? The Haas driver heading into turn 22. Can he knock Connor out of the top 10 across the line. It's only P12 for him, but it wasn't too far away.
Yeah, it wasn't, was it? But there you have it. That's qualifying over. Slightly anticlimactic, and then not too much change within that top 10, but it definitely was close. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers all within the 0.9, but only one of them managed to make it through into that top 10.
Yeah, Connor very much happy with that one to stay in to the top 10 for that. And head into Q3 for qualifying here at Singapore. Whew. Wow, okay. Quantum heading into the pit lane. I mean, not really any surprises from that. The top guys have got through. Obviously, Otis and the FRA guys. Leopard putting himself in a good position. Levi there. Maybe Bartak's original time, obviously doing enough, but unable to go further.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, Otis, he's hit a lap so early on, retired, and was still 2 tenths quicker than the nearest person. And yeah, it just shows how dominant he is. And I think we really need to see a really special lap from someone else in Q3 if they want to try and dethrone Otis of this pole position.
So we're waiting for, I'm not sure what we're waiting for, to be honest. I think, is it Quantum's pit crew to say that they're ready? But we will go through the top 10 here, and that's Otis, Levi, LCR Leopard, FRA Matthew, Scyther, the VLX duo of Harris and Quantum, ERL Bartak, Fraser, VSR Finn, and ERL Connor. Then the guys that were unfortunate, not able to make their way through, that was the Alpine of Andrea, Amin, Passy, Magician, and Maxi. And I'm trying to think what else. I mean, that is a standard Q2, really, apart from Connor being very, very close to being knocked out. I mean, he probably wouldn't be happy with that.
No, it definitely won't be, but listen, he got through anyway for Connor. And yeah, if you're Amine, if you're Andrea, if you're Passy, you're going to be a little bit disappointed with that, because it was just such fine margins and in such a long track as well. It was really impressive to see so many drivers within such a tight margin of time.
Now we are heading into qualifying 3 at Singapore. The action is going to continue. Singapore's, we've mentioned about it before, not, well, you quite rightly as well, not usually in the calendar, so for league racing or this sort of thing. But it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle the pressure of this street circuit, with it being so long and with there being rain at the end of the race as well.
Oh, the rain is something new to me, and I think that will just make it a little bit more interesting. But I think it might help the drivers as well, because it just keeps them focused. I think a lot of the issues around Singapore come from maybe getting a little bit tired, a little bit of a lack of focus, and the mistake comes because it's so easy to clip a wheel off a wall or just slightly miss a braking point. So I think it might make it a little bit better. It might keep them on their toes a bit more, but you never know. I think as well, changeable conditions, that can always throw drivers off, especially near the end of a race. So yeah, that will definitely be very exciting to look out for near the end of the race.
Yeah, we've got drivers out really early in Q3. There's only 12 minutes, and these guys like to get at least 2 lap times in. Scyther's the first guy on there, and I think that could very well be his teammate just behind Levi there as well. LCR Leopard at the back, and usually at this point in a qualifying session, getting into the nitty-gritty parts, I would ask who my co-commentator, who they think is going to be on pole, but that seems like it will be too easy, so I'm going to ask who you think the top 3 will be.
Okay, so I'll go for Otis Lawrence on pole, unfortunately. I think that's the given, but I'll go for Effery Matthews seconds, and I'll go for Scyther in P3.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to go through, because Matthew showing pace, Levi showing pace, Quantum showed some incredible pace out of nowhere as well. But I'm just looking. Harris is the only one that's decided to stay in the pit lane at the moment. He reckons 1 lap is enough, adding extra pressure on himself. But sometimes they like the extra pressure. However, I'm just seeing the dot move on the map, so definitely don't do what the commentators say. Anyway, so either through into sector 3. He's just about to start his lap time. Hopefully for him, Harris won't get in his way. But I suppose I've asked you for the top 3. I'll give mine. Obviously, Otis But I will go then with Levi and Matthew.
Oh, very nice of Williams splitting the two FRA guys. I think that's very plausible. I think FRA and PS are slightly in a league of their own, with no disrespect to the other 8 teams, but I just think if anyone's going to be in the front 2 rows, it would be the 2 teams. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. However, you never know, can Cypher, I think he's got the pace. I think if he can really nail a lap, it could put a bit of pressure on Otis. You never know what could happen. So get a big lap here for Cypher. If he can set a good lap time here, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, anything is, and all it takes is, a mistake. We've seen drivers make mistakes, and just here, Scyther's made a little bit of a back end wobble coming out of turn number 8 there, so that's gonna compromise his lap time a little bit there. But all it takes is, we know how quick the walls are and quick the track is, and how close the walls are, and we just see Scyther very, very nearly career into the wall as well. All it takes is Otis to make one tiny mistake, and it could be costly.
Yeah, definitely. And last week at Bahrain, we kind of seen that. I think the first 5-6 laps, Otis, he made a lot of mistakes, he even picked up a 3-second time penalty. And that time, Scyther got back into the league. There's a big mistake there from Scyther. Oh wow, that could have been bad. But yeah, I think there is sometimes mistakes here in Otis, very rarely, but it just shows you that it has happened. He is human at the end of the day, so mistakes can happen, but at the end of the day, he has to have pressure applied to him here, and it all starts with a good lap time from Scyther. Coming across the line now, what can this Williams set? What can the Barbie set at? It's a 1 minute 36.3. It's not too bad from Scyther, but I think it could be better than that.
Yeah, he'll definitely be quicker than that. A 35.7 for Levi. Otis is only a 35.8. Levi's put a cat among the pigeons here. The Ferrari driver of Finn is going across the line. It's a 37.5 for him. That is quite far off the pace. Not what he would have wanted. And Matthew throwing it in with a 35.826. Agonisingly quicker than his teammate there. So, Quantum has invalidated, but is coming through this now. What can he do? But at the moment, Levi leading the way at, round 1 of qualifying 3.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Levi. I didn't expect it to come from anyone else. And FRA Matthew as well, up into P2 as well. So Otis Lawrence down in P3. He's not seen that himself. You've not seen himself down there that often. And so the pressure's definitely on for Otis now. He has to deliver for this last run, which just makes it a little bit more interesting, does it? Because Otis can't just rest on the lap time he's set. He has to go out there. He has to maybe take a few more risks. And yeah, with for these last runs now in qualifying, it's definitely all to play for.
We do have Harris then just about to finish his lap time. There is yellow flags. I think that's just people going slow though. But across into turn 21. Into turn 22 comes that VLX driver of Harris. A little bit tighter than he would have wanted through 23, but it's still a 36.3 for him, which is not a bad lap time considering he's battling with that middle pack, which only really consists of Scyther and himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well it's maybe good to realise I think the ERL boys are maybe on older tyres, just kind of by the looking at their lap time, same with VSR Finn, just by kind of looking at their lap time is a little bit off the pace compared to their Q2 times. So I think we'll see a little bit more from Connor, Bartek, Faz and Finn later on in the session as Leopard as well comes across the line. He sets a 1 minute 36.2. So the Red Bull as well, he's obviously in fresh tyres and he's definitely in that mix as well for a good starting position.
Yeah, LCR Leopard trying to get himself in, and something that's I think gone by the wayside for him in real in real F1, not real F1, in WOR is his qualifying has let him down. So if he can get himself higher up, this could be exactly what he needs just to build that confidence. And his race pace has always been that little bit quicker. Let's just see. He has done 2 laps on those tyres, but the beautiful thing about this season is, you don't have to worry about that, do you? You get a fresh set for the start of the race.
Yeah, that makes it that little bit better, and that makes full qualifying a bit more interesting as well. But going on the topic of Leopard, I've been really impressed with him this season in WR and WRLD. He started off the season WRLD with, I think it's a P8, but then he gets 10 points in round 2. Then he got second place last week as well. So he's been building on those results. The pace has always been there. He's always been up there. And as you mentioned, I think with a good qualifying tonight, I think he's going to be up there for the race. And it just gives him a bit more of a better opportunity to see if he can try and maybe get a race win. If not, some more strong points.
He is a tricky customer, very difficult to overtake as well. So if Otis gets stuck behind him, could open the race win, whoever, well, the lottery of the race win wide open here in WRLD. We obviously everyone now popping themselves into the pit lane, getting on fresh tyres. But Harris looks like he's keeping on a set of scrub, which could either A, could be because he hasn't got a fresh set, or B, he's just forgotten, or he just wants to, or C, he just likes a set scrubbed.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on there. I kind of would imagine, yeah, there you go, he's changed it. So commentators curse a little bit there, he's mugged us off. He's changed to those fresh tyres with just enough time to go in the session. And then, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what Harris can do. I think he's got some real pace. He's shown it this season, sitting P4 in the driver standings, even a big part for VLX this season as well, as they sit 5th in the constructor standings. So here tonight, I think the two VLX drivers, Quantum and Harris, I'm pretty excited to see what they can do within the next 4 minutes of this session.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. 3 minutes 40. A lot still to be decided. There's a Mercedes driver looking like they're getting ready to go out. No. Yeah, no, it is. It is. There's also Quantum going out on a lap time as well. I'm just getting quite distracted by the pit crews in the. Some things you just pick up on. You think you know it all, but then there's new things coming through. But Quantum is on a lap time, or well, is on his out lap, and there is a few drivers now getting themselves out on track. And at the moment, my prediction is wrong, but it's the right drivers.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive actually. I need Cypher to get a grip here if I want mine to get right. So yeah, it's been really interesting and pretty unpredictable considering that none of us have got a prediction right. But I think the big one is Otis in P3. We've talked about how dominant he's been. He's been so dominant in the two sessions so far. So yeah, to see Matthew and Levi both be beating him, it was really interesting to see. And yeah, for the first time probably ever in this game, Otis has got a bit of pressure now going into this last run. He's not the quickest man at the moment. And yet he's got a big lap coming up for him here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went and blew everyone off the park.
And that's what we're used to from Otis this season, or this game especially. Remember when he came into WOR last season, towards the end of it, when Shadow had just won Season 12. But he definitely gave as good as he could get. He probably wasn't, well, he wasn't as good back then. He was still learning. But he's come on leaps and bounds, and that was only 6 months ago, if that. And now he's the man to beat. Here is Quantum, though, on a lap, just starting for the final time in Q3.
Yep, Quantum. He's got a lot to prove here. This is only his second appearance in WRLD, so he'll be looking to try and build on his initial points on debut in the first round of the season at Australia. So Quantum, he's 100% point success ratio, so yeah, he's been pretty happy, man, so far. And in terms of his team Velox, they've been pretty impressive. So a good lap here would do the world a good. A 26.8 in the first sector, though. It's probably not as good as we've seen from the boys up at the top, but nonetheless, it is still pretty good as he's coming through this middle sector now. Fourth gear through the left hand of the turn 9, and coming up to where the old Singapore sling used to be. It's slightly easier now, though. It's slightly more simple, I should say, as well, but it's definitely not easier, is it? Coming to the left and then slinging it back to the right, trying to avoid that wall on the left, and then coming through here as well. It can be pretty awkward. You try to turn right and then you're braking for the left hand hairpin, but so far Quantum, he's handled this lap pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well indeed. Into Sector 3 he goes. It's, well, not sure how much quicker, but because he never set a lap time in the last one, but it's a 1:03 for his sector time there, so it's still looking relatively strong. But Quantum has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. 36 seconds left of this session to go. If he fails in these final few corners with invalidations, then he might have a chance at going again, but he won't want to. But the back end steps out a little bit and on the exit of 21 and hits the back end. Finn retires from the session. He has crashed out, maybe, but Quantum P7 for him, and it's now Bartek Fraser coming through the tricky section of Sector 3.
Yep, he's currently sitting in P9, second slowest of them all, but Finn retiring in P10, so he'll be starting at the back of the grid, harshly for the Ferrari. But Bartek Fraz in P9 at the moment, 1.4 seconds off the pace, but now with his fresh set of softs, where can he put that AlphaTauri for? Yeah, they'll come through the final corner now. He comes across line, and it's a 1 minute 36.6, only good enough for P8.
Harris is invalidated, so he's not going to go any quicker. Sider has invalidated. He's not going to go any quicker. Otis then across the line, the Mercedes driver, the championship leader, or, well, whatever you want to say about him. He's a 35.3 at the moment, and it's provisional pole. FRA Matthews not going to beat it because he's invalidated. Let's see what Connor can do. He's the next driver across the list to set a lap time. Got a lot of pressure on to see if he wants to get himself up above P7 at all. And across the line, it is P7 exactly for him. Levi across the line. The Williams driver, can he do anything about Otis? He cannot go quicker. He's slower.
Oh, wow, I think Otis was just teasing us, wasn't he? Because it looked a little bit interesting. You thought, oh, maybe Otis isn't the quickest here, but there you have it, 4/10 clear of the next person of Levi in P2. I think Levi may be slightly disappointed with that last lap. I was on board with him. A bit of a mistake into the final sector, which probably cost him maybe a tenth or two, but I don't think he was quick enough today to beat Otis on the 1 lap pace. But we've got 31 laps coming up off Singapore. A lot can happen, and I think a lot will happen.
Now, I was right. I've got to admit, I got the qualifying positions exactly right. I'm going to buy a lottery ticket very, very soon. But it is Otis, Levi, FRA Matthew, Leopard, Sider, Harris, Connor, Quantum, Bartak, and Finn. Your top 10 for Singapore here in WRLD.
Something very interesting. Sorry, just to say something very interesting I found so far was Leopard and Scyther, a little bit off it compared to the rest of the grid. 9/10 off. Our pole position was Leopard and Scyther when you've only got Matthew and Levi 4/10 off. I thought a 5/10 gap between P3 and P4 is pretty slightly unusual for a top tier standard like this.
Yeah, I was going to bring them up. I was going to say, is there anything that you've picked up on? And that's a massive thing. But both of them invalidated their last laps, meaning obviously they're pushing massively, but obviously a bit too much.
Yeah, and I think as well at Singapore it's such a long lap as we've mentioned, so there's so many places where it can go wrong. There's so many walls you can hit, there's so many places you can just invalidate strangely, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think it's not the end of the world. They're P4 and P5, they're still in there, they can still see the man in pole. So yeah, with 31 laps of Singapore, qualifying is not the most important thing ever.
Definitely not. These guys have got a lot of work on their hands, though, to keep things safe. We are doing a lobby reset for the 10-place grid penalty for VSR Finn, because he will be starting at the back of the grid. So we will wait for invites and everything to get themselves sorted on that one. But before we obviously it's going to take a little while, just a short while to get things ready for that. But I mean, is there anyone on that grid that really surprised in a good way for you?
Oh, good question that. You've really put me in the spot there. Honestly, I'm going to be bored and I'm just going to say no. I think, unfortunately, it went as planned, that there was not too many shock surprises. I think the easy one would be Harris, but I think he's got the pace there every week, so P6 is representative for him. So, I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no there. I think it's been all pretty irrelevant to pace so far, unfortunately.
Now, mine is going to be Finn because he's starting at the back of the grid. No, that's harsh. Obviously, Finn has got a lot of work to do. Let's speak about that. That's going to cost him quite dearly because he showed pace.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's 20th is harsh. The two VSR guys starting 19th and 20th, so a lot of work to be done for these two boys. But I think 31 laps at Singapore, a lot will happen. We'll have safety cars, we'll have people retiring, we'll have crashes, we'll have wing damage. So obviously it's hard to overtake, but I think as well if it's like maybe a track like Bahrain, for example, where you're not going to get much chaos, I think it's going to be maybe harder. So maybe in a sense, being at Singapore is a blessing in disguise. You never know.
We'll wait and see for what VSR Finn can do. He might try an alternate strategy as well. That's the other thing we've got to remember for all this, because if he does and it works out, a safety car comes out at the right time. The thing that we don't exactly know when the rain is going to come. Is it going to be enough to go onto intermediates or wets, or how it's going to cause problems? It's there's a lot to be said about just that end of the race, and we're not 100% sure on yet.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a good point. Will we see guys like Finn and Cleanse at the back, because at the back they've technically got nothing to lose? Will they go for maybe a little bit more ballsy strategies? Will they kind of put their neck at their risk a little bit more with that kind of tyre change? I think it's a good point, because it's not easy in this game anymore. It's not as simple as just, you pit now. You can definitely get it wrong. So will we see people further back take those risks? And I think we definitely could, because as you mentioned earlier on, this is not an easy track to overtake at. So I think it'll be interesting to see strategy, how much that will play a part, and how big a risk some drivers are willing to take.
Now, there is, we've mentioned it's quite difficult to overtake here, but there has been, at the end of into turn 1, the end of the start-finish straight, into turn 7, they're the 2 DRS zones as well, those 2 straights, even though the second one has a little kink. And then into turn 14 as well. Turn 14 is more drivers overtake there than I think I've seen in a long, long time at Singapore, especially over the last 2 or 3 seasons I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, we've now got DRS then to turn 14 as well. I think that's fairly new, so that just kind of adds the incentive to go for a move there. But I think the interesting one with turn 14 is if you're the guy on the inside and you brake late, there's no get out, you're in a wall. And if you're the guy on the outside and you brake too late, once again, you're in a wall. So it's high risk, more so than it is for turn 1 and turn 7. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to watch. I think as well, the one into turn 7, it's always really interesting to watch, isn't it? Because going into there on at turn 7, you've got the little right-hand kink at turn 6, which can always kind of cause chaos, because you don't know if you're defending inside, you don't know where the driver will move come the exit, and it can really cause some chaos. And I think tonight as well, that turn 6 right-hand kink will definitely be the part to cause of some pretty big incidents, I think.
Now, we're just waiting for the last few drivers to get themselves into the lobby, so you will hear, actually, I think we're waiting on 3, maybe? 3 drivers, so we'll wait for those to get themselves ready and waiting. We will quickly have another look at the standings, and that obviously FRA leading the way, because mainly down to Otis. 3 wins, is it for him now?
Yep.
It's ridiculous. He's just ridiculously quick, and putting the majority of the points away for FRA. But you quite rightly mentioned earlier on as well that the FRA guys, backroom staff, might not be too happy that the second driver hasn't produced enough points for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as well, I don't know how unhappy they will be, because they got 26 points from Otis, then 10 points in Australia. And in Abu Dhabi, it was Matthew racing, and he had an issue with the pit lane. It was a glitch completely out of his control. It was probably on for some good points. So, that's just really bad luck. And then again, last week in Bahrain, P3, he was sitting P5, I think. He was having a battle in the last lap and he spun round. It probably wasn't his fault, it was just a racing incident. But yeah, once again, more points thrown away, which isn't completely from drivers not performing. So I think it's been really unlucky from FRA so far. And I think as time will go on, I think we might just start to see FRA stretch their legs, mainly because of Otis and how good he can be, how dominant he can be. But as well as that, I think if we start to see the FRA driver number 2 get a bit more luck and get a bit more things go his way, I think that's when we can start to see FRA have a bit more dominance over this championship.
We've also got to worry about they've got to worry massively about PSR. They're very, very quick set of drivers that they've got signed, and I mean, you look at Levi putting himself in between the 2 Mercedes he's on the front row of the grid alongside Otis. If he can get a perfect start, get in front. And not to bring up the esports, and we saw Ronhar obviously at Imola last night not get the best of starts. If that is similar to Otis, it could cost him a chunk of time. I won't say he won't win, but it would cost him quite dearly in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that one. So yeah, it'll be very intriguing to see how this race will play out. As well, the strategy tonight, I think it's going to be hard to medium, if anyone was wondering. But I think, as we mentioned earlier on, I think we could see a few drivers maybe further back go with the softer compound of the mediums, try and make the most of it, try and get a few easier overtakes in earlier on in the race. But you never know. I think it's been traditionally all quite simple, everyone going for the same strategy, but here in Singapore tonight, we might see a slight difference in that.
Right. Then after PSR, we've got the Shizou Racing team on 32 points, with Velox on 28, VSR on 26, ERL on 12, Novus on 4, FGE on 3, ETE on 2, and the new guys, BRT, the two McLaren team there, obviously new, didn't go so well for them last week, but no points for them yet. But they're looking like they could put themselves in the mix for the lower end of points.
Yeah, absolutely. In a race like this tonight, there's always going to be chaos looming around the corner. So I think it's a good chance for them. I don't think they're going to be a team that are going to be, with all respect, I don't think they're going to be challenging up there for wins, podiums. But I think if they can get points every now and then, you can find themselves maybe 6th, 7th in the championship, which I think for their standards would be more than enough for them.
Now we've got all the drivers in, just making sure the positional changes are in place and ready and done and dusted. We know the guys in the top 3 very, very well. Otis, Matthew, and I've completely forgotten him. Levi. Oh my god, what a way to do that! But obviously not in those positions, obviously, and we will speak about Otis for forevermore. I am sure he'll be legend to anything Xbox moving forward. But Levi and Matthew have a lot of hard work. They know how good Otis is, and obviously there'll be a little bit of team. Matthew won't want to get in too much of Otis's way, but he's also got to get some pride back into this as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, does Matthew worry about that? Do you think Matthew cares about the 25 points? Or do you think as well, does Matthew kind of just know that Otis is quicker? I'm sure they're doing practice together. I'm sure they're well aware of what each other's pace is like. So is it a case of just thinking, right, Otis isn't my race today, I need to focus on getting P2 or getting P3 or whatever? Or does Matthew go for it? Does Matthew think, do you know what, this is my time for a win, and go all guns to the wall? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see within the first 2 laps as well. It's probably the best time for Matthew to strike.
Now, I am going to ask you who you think is going to be the top 3 for the final race positions when this gets started.
It's a good question. I'll go for a Otis win, unfortunately. I don't think this dominance is getting moved anytime soon. I think we'll see Cypher come in P2. I think he's got the consistency for it all, and I think we'll see LCR Leopard come home in P3.
Very, very interesting indeed. I think there is going to be a change to how it looked in the podium, in the top 3 of qualifying. I'm going to go, obviously, very, very similarly to yourself. Otis in first. In second place, I'm going to back Levi to keep that one, but I am going to follow suit for you and say Leopard for P3. His race pace has always been that little bit quicker than his quali pace.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and I think it helps. I think you mentioned earlier on that it helps that he's got a bit of a better qualifying tonight, starting P4 or 5, if I'm right in saying so. He's there, and he doesn't have to spend his first few laps battling through. I remember in Abu Dhabi, he was maybe P10 or 9, and the first few laps was just him going through the field, and he's using all his ERS and all his tyre wear. So yeah, tonight he doesn't have to worry about that. He's already got the pace to be there. He won't have to worry about using the ERS and pushing too much at the start, and he can just focus on himself, getting a clean start. And I think LCR Leopard is definitely a dark horse for tonight's race.
Now, the time is getting very, very close to race or lights out. We are at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. It had the honour of being the first night race in F1 history. It is 23 corners in total, 31 laps in total, and a circuit. Well, the length of the circuit is 5 kilometres long, nearly the longest on the calendar. I think only, it's absolutely incredible. Nonetheless, this track, it's tight, it's twisty. Connor, any further words for you before we get underway?
Oh, I just think it's going to be a race of attrition. I think it's going to be 31 laps of trying to keep it out of the wall, trying to keep it consistent. And I think the drivers that will do that tonight will probably reap the benefits.
And here we are. It is nearly time to see these guys get themselves ready. I may have gone a little bit too got myself too excited. I thought it was straight into the race start, but no, they'd got to pick themselves their strategies, their setups, and obviously with the rain coming at the end, we've not spoken too much about this. It's going to be interesting to see whether people decide to go hards at the start and wait for the rain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, with the lobby restarting, it kind of leaves the room for strategy a bit more setup, I should say, sorry, a bit more open. So will we see drivers maybe tweak their setups a little bit, knowing that rain's coming, put a bit extra front wing, put a bit an extra rear wing, change a few things here or there, which they maybe wouldn't have normally done if it was straight park February rules. So yeah, I think maybe this lobby restart also changes the dynamic of the race a little bit more as well.
So we might see a little bit out of it as well. And I just thinking maybe we know there's drivers out there that are quick, they are great, they're at the top for a reason, but as soon as it rains they find the next level. I have yet to see Otis fully in the rain yet, I believe, but I'm thinking more on a side of Harvey back in last season in the esports challenges. When it rained, he was incredible. I wonder if there's a dark horse in this grid.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it can maybe work the other way as well for some of these top guys. Like, I'd imagine basically all these drivers, when they practice in the dry conditions. They might do a wet lobby, they might do a wet 30-40 minutes pushing it in the wet, but 95% of their practice all comes in the dry. So I think when there's always a bit of rain, it always kind of throws a spanner in the works, like the likes of Harvey last year, because there's some people that are just naturally, their driving style suits the wet weather. So yeah, there could be a few drivers down here at the lower end of the lower end of the grid, I should say, that are absolutely relishing these wet conditions when they come.
Now, just as a reminder for the calendar for the remainder of the season, next week we've got the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the Jeddah Corniche circuit. That I love that circuit. I am gutted I'm missing that one. Then there's a break week before we get to Italy, and then there's Great Britain, Silverstone, the track, the home of many esports. Well, I don't want to say esports drivers, but league races. It's a home of motorsport. It's incredible circuit to be at as well. So that will be a big one. Then it's followed by Austria, which is always carnage. I love that track as well. And then there's Imola in round 9. I won't go do the whole of the circuits that we've got for the calendar. Is there Callum? Sorry, is there a track on there that you can't wait to get and commentate over?
I think the big one will be Saudi Arabia next week. I think I'm a big fan of it as well, just like yourself. But as well as a sprint race next week as well, which I think personally I'm not a huge fan of yet. I think it's maybe a little bit to be tweaked in the F1 game in the league race, and I'm not too sure if it runs completely the way it should. But I think an extra 10 laps of Saudi Arabia, I think it'll be really interesting. I think it will cause chaos. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one next week.
Yeah, it's I'm gutted I'm not here. I am absolutely. I was really apprehensive about Saudi when I first started doing commentary over it, and you know what? I've not looked back since. But we're not about that. We're about Singapore, and usually when there's rain involved at Singapore, it adds that little bit of spice to the circuit that's already an absolute. I can't think of the actual right word, but it's a slog for these drivers because it is so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, and I imagine we probably wouldn't have even needed the rain. I think Singapore always kind of causes chaos, and it's quite interesting. You don't normally see it in calendars. I think in the last few seasons of WOR, I can't remember seeing it coming up too often. So it's interesting to see. It's nice to see it coming up this early on in the season as well. So yeah, with 20 seconds to go out until the race starts, I'm looking forward to this one because I think this could be an absolute cracker.
It is going to be incredible. 31 laps of Singapore is just about to start. Let us get ourselves ready. The timer is down to 1 second. It's now ready Let's get ourselves onto the grid, please, game for the Singapore Grand Prix. I've got nothing to show and nothing to do, but we're on 5 laps and we are underway at Singapore. It looks like a pretty poor start, unfortunately, for Leopard, who's struggled a little bit. Inside has already gone past him, and up the inside is Harris as well. The front three have stayed the same, and Connor and Quantum are fighting away in the background as well. But 6 places down for Andrea. But Leopard had a poor start, and it's only just managed to keep it in front of Harris.
Yeah, he's got lucky there to stay in P5 at start. Really late, and Dennis have got a spinner. But look at in the background as well. Not a good start for the McLaren man, but yeah, at the front it's all pretty nose up. No real position changes.
Let's keep on looking at the 2 Alpha Tauris of Bartek and Connor going side by side into turn 8. That is a very solid move by Bartek there. And in the background, Magician trying to get past Amin as well. That is not what you expect, but it is a little bit 2x2 with the teams as well. 6, 7, 8 and 9 are concentrated off just 2 teams there. It's all the alphas that we've got in the game, to be perfectly honest. Down 8 position now in Andrea. Pat Ledger struggling in 19th, and Luca in last place as well. So they have not had the best of luck as well. But Clenzo up into P3, not into P3, up 3 places, but he has lost the position to Andrea in the background. Andrea's really struggling, I think.
Yeah, Cleanser's really struggling as well down at P20. He was up into P15 there, and the about to start talking about when they spun into Piccolo, he completely hit him, and the 2 of them spun around, and then just in as well, Cleanso off into the wall, missed his braking zone. So yeah, a really messy lap for the newly VSR driver. Yeah,
the BRT, ETA and FGE are coming together. That is not what you'd want to see. But let's go back up to the front of the grid. Cider losing ground to the top 3, but look at this. 5-second penalty for Finn as well going into the pit lane. So he must have picked up damage. That's not what you want to see at all. But Levi, Matthew, nearly out of the DRS of Otis already.
Yeah, and Levi's really losing that ERS as well. 10% for ERS going to Levi's name at the moment. Matthew as well, 40%. He's not doing too bad, but Otis isn't too bothered. The pace is looking really good. He's not been pushed a hell of a lot when you look at his ERS. It's just below 50% at the moment. When you look at Levi, is at 10%. So yeah, Otis once again looking like he's maybe just got that pace advantage over the rest of the grid.
Yeah, at the moment, exactly what we were expecting. Matthew having Cyber, not really having Cyber for company either. Well, and Cyber obviously got past Leopard at the start, but then hasn't been able to capitalise on that.
No, he's not, and I kind of thought his pace would be better than that. He's been so impressive this season, Cypher, but yeah, at the moment he's been slightly disappointing. You know, as you mentioned, he managed to kind of make the most of Leopard's poor start, but I think Leopard will be pretty upset with that start because it looks like he's possibly stuck behind the Williams of Cypher.
Yeah, Leopard has a lot of work to do. Clenzo and Finn, the last 2 the Ferrari drivers, having an absolute nightmare. Let's have a look at the tyres that everyone are on. Bart and Maxi are on mediums. Oh, and that's a big mistake there from Quantum, who's now gone in between the 2 Alfa Romeos. Alpha Tauri, sorry, the Alfa Romeo driver, really massively stepping out at turn 21, and now it's an Alpha sandwich.
Yeah, just looking up front, Otis has managed to break that DRS to the rest of the field, but looking as well the battle for P4, I think Leopard could possibly be saving up a move on Cypher here, coming through at turn 6 and turn 7. Cypher, he's maybe just got that straight line speed and a little bit more than what Leopard would have fancied. He's going to stick behind the Williams for the time being, and once again losing some valuable time because Cypher at the moment 2.2 seconds off Matthew in P3. Magician
and Maxi battling away, and that could have ended in tears, but Magician's going to keep his car in the inside of turn number 9 there, and a little bit of a push out at the exit. No love lost there, it seems. Levi outside of the DRS range of Otis ahead. It could be one that is very much done and dusted for Otis already, but we are expecting rain at some point in this race, so we're not sure how he's going to handle the wet weather.
Yeah, and I think that makes it interesting as well. They maybe got drivers a bit more prepared in terms of setup and also just driving ability. Are they just a bit better in the rain? And as you mentioned, we might just see a few dark horses coming through when that rain hits. Felix Harris as well in P6, he's still where he started, but the pace is looking good. I think it kind of just highlights Scyther's worries because he's got Leopard and Harris pretty close behind the Williams at the moment.
Bartek Fraser is catching this train as well. Scyther in a little bit of a world of pain, but could this be a little ploy from Scyther? Maybe that's why he's so quick on the straights. He's helping Levi out up ahead.
Yeah, I think it's probably not what he meant to do, but I think indirectly it's definitely helping these top three guys out at the moment. Leopard can't really get past it at the moment, and you just stick on board with the Edo, 35% DRS to Leopard's name, and it's just not enough at the moment. He's not even deploying it anymore on this straight, and this is probably his main chance to try and get past on that straight. So it just shows you Leopard, he just can't do much at the moment to try and get by Scyther. Other than that, he might just be happy sitting behind Scyther. Maybe this is the pace that Leopard thinks he's at, and he's just happy to sit and try and save that ERS at the moment.
Time will tell. That 4 of 31 here at Singapore for WR Legacy Division, and Otis Lawrence, surprise surprise, is leading the way for FRA. Matthew is doing a fantastic job. Could be much more points than FRA have had this season from their second driver, which will be music to their ears. But PSR are getting involved in this as well, with Scyther and Levi in second and fourth as well. But Leopard desperately trying to get himself past for some good points for Shizou as well. And you know what? But I think Bartek may have made a mistake going on to the mediums to start with, because we don't know because of the rain.
Yeah, I think that just makes it really interesting because we don't quite know when it's going to hit. We just know it's going to come eventually. So yeah, it just kind of keeps it pretty interesting. Just looking as well, Levi on that last lap got pretty close to Otis. Just not enough to get DRS, unfortunately, but certainly close enough to maybe make Otis worried a little bit. 1.1 seconds is a gap coming out of turn 4 now. He's not going to get DRS this lap, but certainly is food for thought for Otis Lawrence at the moment. Just looking at as well, Levi's teammate Scyther under a bit more pressure from LCR Leopard coming up that hill now. DRS will be enabled for the Red Bull, and I think this could be a big chance here for Leopard to get past.
Now, we're just being told that the rain has not been put on because it wasn't going to hit the race in time. So we're not going to have that now, so it doesn't matter. All we've said doesn't matter, but Leopard trying to get past Scyther nonetheless. Bartek Fraser then trying the different strategy as the McLaren and Haas of Maxi and Magician again going to war.
Yeah, it's a shame about the rain. We've just been waffling for the last half an hour about rain. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, we don't need rain anyway. I'm sure I'll keep this race nice and interesting. Maybe a little safety car at the end would do it justice.
Yeah. Wow. Just no comment. Levi then 1.6 seconds behind Otis, and Matthew 2.2 behind Levi. So he's not having the best of paces, but crucially for him, he's got a 3-second buffer to Scyther. So really, it's a battle for P4 that's going on at the moment. Maxi did get back in front of the McLaren driver and Magician in the end, but I mean, in the sense of things, that's helping the Haas team. The HSR team is I'm in anyway in P10, getting some points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Novus Racing that is the Haas drivers. So yeah, just really replacing I think WOR and AMS at left. I think they're replacing AMS. So this is only their second round, and once again they're showing real good promise. I think they were up in P4 and 6 last week. That didn't really come to fruition come the end of the race, but once again shown they've got the pace to bear and shown that they've definitely got the ability to be in and around them points paying positions.
Yeah, I mean, we will keep on board with Leopard, but I don't think he's going to be able to get any positional changes as things stand at the moment. He just, like you mentioned a few laps ago, he's more sizing up Scyther than trying to get a move done.
Yeah, he's not really came close either, has he? It's not even like he's tried to he's not really been close at all. He's just kind of been there, and he doesn't show an awful lot of intent to get past. So I think he's just happy to sit behind. Cause I think if he was frustrated and really wanting to get past, I think he'd have probably at least been an attempt by now. But you never know. He's getting closer and closer. I feel every lap 5/10 is the gap now, just coming through that back straight now. So yeah, maybe this time next lap we could see, and there's a big mistake there from our Mercedes driver. That's Efri Matthew. That's very big for the kind of way this race is going to pan out. A big mistake there. Coming down to P5 now, he was sitting pretty comfortably in P3. So yeah, a huge mistake there from a pretty big driver as well.
This is mental for Matthew. This is not what he would have wanted. Lap 6, and he's put himself into a massive, massive DRS train. He's now just got to compose himself, get himself back into the swing of things. But at the moment, he's holding up Harris, and he could be broken from DRS from Leopard. That is huge.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see from Matthew. 11% ERS, he's obviously been pushing, and that mistakes came. I kind of got a bit of I was a bit confused on what's happening, kind of hence kind of the way my voice was. I was like, what's going on here? But yeah, a big mistake from Matthew, and again spinning. He'd done it at Abu Dhabi as well, very early on in the race. Similar situation to what he finds himself in now, and yeah, it's not good. He's not put himself in a good place, as you mentioned. This DRS train could be very harmful for his outcome. Especially
with the likes of Connor and Quantum getting themselves a little bit quicker. They're just 1.5 seconds behind Bartak and P7 at the moment. So this could be a huge DRS train from Scyther in 3rd to Quantum in 9th very, very shortly. And right smack in the middle of that is Matthew.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to be easy for Matthew now, especially the driver in front of him is Leopard, who's got DRS to Scyther, so yeah, it's definitely interesting there. But Leopard really close to the back of Scyther, the closest I've seen the two all race. Can you try and side up a move into this corner? But no, he's a little bit too far back, and I don't think he's ambitious enough to go for that one. But yeah, I know we've been saying it for the last 7 laps, but I think Leopard and Scyther could be going at it fairly soon.
Well, time will tell whether. I don't think there was any contact with Scyther at any point, but this is the slowest I've seen Scyther in a long time. Maybe he's picked up, maybe there is underfloor damage. We can't really see that. I'm not sure if that damage is on in here, but Luca is into the wall. Let's have a look quickly at that. There is no front wing on that McLaren car.
Not ideal for the McLaren is at the moment. And yeah, just once again, we get right how tricky this track can, and being lucky there's no safety car for that one as well. But just going back up to the front of the LCR Leopard, it looks to be a bit more intent for this move now, using a bit of DRS going up the hill at turn 5, and then coming out of there. Now he's all over the back and he's using some DRS. He's using that DRS, he's using a little bit of DRS as well. But once again, Scyther, he's just got the legs on him in the straight, and I just don't think, yeah, once again, Leopard, he's just struggling to make any sort of intent on that Scyther gap.
I think it's definitely going to be a case of, as soon as Leopard might need to work this in a sense of just stay behind, build his ERS completely, be happy to stay behind Scyther until the pit stop stages, and then go massively for it and maybe undercut or overcut the Williams ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to have to do something like that now, because yeah, it's just not going to work sitting here in this DRS train. It's not ideal. It's not really finding any way to get past. So yeah, I agree with that one. I think maybe trying doing something different with the strategy is definitely a plausible option for him.
So at the moment, Leopard just sticking to the back end of that Williams car at the moment. Bartak, dropping off Harris in the background, which has made this more of a four-way battle for P3 at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly has, and Bartek, Fraz and Maxi G, the two guys in the mediums at the moment, you'd probably have liked to see a little bit more progress from them, especially Bartek Fraz, who suddenly started inside the top 10 to being P7. He's lost DRS to the guys in front, so yeah, it's a tough one for him, and he's got a lot of work to do for the rest of this race now on those hard tyres as the McLaren retired from Sector 2. Could this possibly be a safety car?
It's a full course yellow, so I'm guessing possibly VSC. We will wait and see. But Levi's 3 seconds behind Otis. Let's see if the car is still going to be there. I'm on board with the Mercedes man, the FRA driver, as they head down into the old Singapore Sling. But I can't see. The car has unfortunately disappeared, so I can't tell whereabouts he lost it. But that is unfortunate for BRT.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, safety car has been deployed, which makes this pretty interesting. It was initially a VSC, but was upgraded to a safety car. You don't see that often, and that happened too often. But safety car now, what will we see from Otis, Levi and Cypher? It brings them all back together. All that hard work done by Otis is undone. And on the other hand, for his teammate Effery Matthew, he's been given a bit of a lifeline now, hasn't he? That spin, it doesn't look too bad now when he's now sitting in P5 right up behind the rest of the grid.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I can't imagine people deciding to pit at this stage in the race. It's only lap 9, and I'm in the short of it as well. It's given Finn an absolute wonderful chance to get back into this race. Not having the luck of it at all. He's on a set of hards. He's more than likely able to go to the end of the race on those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we had that imaginary rain, I think the strategy would be a bit more interesting, but with a full dry race, I think it's just going to be hard for a lot of these guys. Maybe Bartek Kraft will be in time at the pit lane, and yeah, that is what he does. I would imagine Max G will do the same as well, and yes, he does. So the two guys that started on the mediums will reap the benefits of this safety car, and come in the pit lane for some fresh hearts.
Let's see what happens on that side. Do they go for the hards? Do they? They should, but whether they do or not is another matter. They have done indeed on the AlphaTauri, and the Haas team are double stacking.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm surprised to see Amin into the pit lane, considering he started on the hard tyres, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, on the mediums now, so I'm not too sure. I don't know if I'm missing something, but mediums aren't going to go to the end, surely. Then what Daniel Piccolo's also in for mediums, so is the FG driver and the ETE driver as well of Andrea. So a few drivers onto fresh mediums, so yeah, maybe they know something that we don't.
Well, it seems like they've rolled the dice for something different, and you know we'll find out at the end of the Grand Prix if it's a 6 or if it was a 1. But we'll wait and see on that one. And yeah, interesting strategies from those guys. Bartak, obviously, on the fresh hard compound tyres is going to do him a world of good. But towards the end of the race, they might be a bit squiffy.
Yes, absolutely. And James have a lot of work to do, but I think if he can keep it out of the walls, keep the pace nice, I think some pretty nice points and a nice result could be coming his way. I think for the rest of the field as well now. For Matthew, I think we've seen there was some pretty good pace in that carrier, so if he can get a good restart, if he can maybe try and get past Leopard or Cypher, we could possibly be seeing a little bit of a redemption drive from him, as well as this gives Leopard a fresh opportunity to try and get past Cypher. That also gives Cypher a new opportunity to try and stick with his teammate Levi now this time. Can Cypher maybe try and get a bit of a grip, try and get a bit quicker pace, and see if he can try and stick with his teammate at the very least.
And there goes Otis pretending to go in the pit lane there, just trying to mind games at this top level as well is quite prominent, isn't it? You know, these guys have got a lot of they've got to try and get an upper hand on them somehow, their opponents somehow.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. I think every little margin does count. Steve now comes into the pit lane, he's thought, never mind those hards. For me, he's kind of strangely pitted a lap after. Everyone's been bunched together now, so he's going to drop back pretty far. Possibly even to last as the Andrea comes in the final corner. I think it's going to be pretty close to the Aston Martin. It does just pep him, so Steve comes out in P17 on some fresh medium tyres as well. So do you think they're going to then?
I think they're playing a very sly strategy. I think that maybe they think there's another safety car coming towards the end of the race, and while the others are pitted, these guys would still be out, throw themselves onto a fresh set of softs. That is how I think possibly it could work out, but we are under safety car. Anything can happen. All it takes is one driver to make another mistake at the front end. We've seen F.A. Matthew do it. What's to say the likes of Cider, Leopard or Levi or even Otis won't do the same thing?
Yeah, and I think maybe, well, if I don't see a safety car, they could just be taking these mediums as far as they can and pick for some fresh softs anyway. I think when you look at it, these guys in the mediums, they'll be quicker than the old hards, so they'll get the advantage there. They'll then go longer than when these hard guys pit. So then they'll be able to take it when the soft cars come in the race and everyone else is on the mediums. So I actually think this is a good strategy when you'll think about it fully. So yeah, could be a good call here. Looking for Piccolo, Amini and P4 and P50, these guys on the fresh mediums, we're looking to make some inroads on this field.
So we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. I've not seen a message that the safety car is coming in this lap, so I'm guessing it's Finn still unable to catch up to the back end of this grid at the moment, which has cost them. But yeah, I mean, this is odd. But Otis has got there's pressure to him. He's got to make sure that safety car restart is perfect.
Yes, absolutely. But I think fortunately for Otis, considering how dominant he's been this season, he's had a fair few safety car restarts that he's had to do. So it's just probably made that job a little bit easier. As now Cleansel comes into the pit lane, so he's thought, okay, these hards aren't for me either. He's coming into the pit lane for some medium tyres as well. So he's liked the sound of the strategy everyone else is playing, and he's kind of thought, oh, I'll gamble now. He's going to take up losing. He's happy with losing those positions, I should say. And then yeah, a lot of work to be done again for these VSR guys who once again find themselves at the back of the field.
Yeah, it's just like the actual start of this race. These guys have now got to fight their way through. The thing that maybe the reason why they're going on to the set of mediums is, I know if the hards get cold, it's really difficult to get them to warm back up quickly again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe gives the advantage to the medium guys because they've probably, at the start of the warm-up, probably there, and I think they can probably make advantage of that. So I think that kind of is why we've seen a lot of these guys on the medium tyres, because of their warm-up, because of how much quicker they will be at the start. But I think on the other side of the argument, you could probably say that the mediums are going to be a bit more prone to overheating. So I think that's maybe when the hards come in, so it's slightly better on their own.
So they're just on lap 12 under the safety car at the moment. Yeah, time will definitely tell. I think we're getting a few people saying who's going to win in the chat now. Bartek Fraser from Jamie Johnson. It's going to be difficult. But he's got a chance, obviously, starting on those, getting those hards where he is. And Piccolo and Amin swapping positions there for some unknown reason. But the safety car is in this lap, and it's all about how Otis restarts. He's now the de facto safety car. Is the Mercedes driver, the FRA driver, has just got to go when he wants to. And it sounds so simple to just go when you want, but you've got to keep the cars behind on their toes as well. When does he go? It's going to be very, very shortly. And he's still warming those tyres up, looking at it from Levi's point of view. When does Otis go? He's gone now. I don't think he's caught too many people out with that safety car restart at all. But no attacking from Leopard on Scyther, which we thought we might. But Harris is having a go at Matthew, but there was nothing doing in the end.
Yeah, a few yellow flags at the start at the back. I see T. Patty, unfortunately, that has had a little bit of a spin there, so not ideal for him. But yeah, I'm surprised to see Leopard not go for it there. I just thought that would have been the time to try and make a move, just looking further back. It's all pretty much single file at the moment, not too many real moves being moved.
It was a little bit of a drift moment for the McLaren of Magician, spinning through turn 5 there. And we have lost Andrea into turn 7. What's happened to the Alpine driver? But there's no safety car. There's no virtual safety car. So obviously the game's not deeming it dangerous enough this time.
Yeah, so I managed to fortunately get that on board. I was just watching on board with Steve going into turn, I think it's turn 6, I think it's turn 7. They're left hand, and he just completely broke himself. He went right into the back of Andrea, and Andrea unfortunately had a one-way ticket to the wall, and unfortunately for him, he's out of the race. So yeah, it's tough from him. I don't think there's much Andrea could do, but yeah, that can happen sometimes at a street circuit on a safety car restart when people are bunched up. Unfortunately, incidents like that can happen.
Now, already the gap between Levi and Scyther is 1.3 seconds. The Williams driver of Scyther is really struggling at Singapore. He's not been able to hook his laps up quick enough.
No, he's not. You mentioned it earlier on, it's as slow as you've seen him, and I definitely agree with that. He's normally always on it, sometimes not on the pace of Otis, but if not, he's definitely the second best, or at least third best. But at the moment, the pace isn't really there. I know he's sitting in P3, but the pace doesn't really look that good, does it?
Unfortunately not for him, but he is starting to move a little bit away from Leopard. Maybe heating these tyres up has just not been good for these two drivers at the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. The hards are not easy, and yeah, it's a good point. Leopard 8/10 off the back of Cypher, so yeah, definitely. And maybe puts into perspective how possibly good Cypher is, and it's just maybe Leopard is still struggling. Just looking as well, Clenzo, Steve, and Finn all into the pit lane. Clenzo now finds himself on 11 lap old hard tyres, showing a strange one there from the Ferrari man.
Oh, this is gutting stuff for those guys down in the bottom positions who are still racing. But at the moment, LCR Leopard, the Shizou racing driver for this week, is the enigma, I suppose, out of the other drivers that we've got in the top 5, because it's all PSR and FRA.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job so far. He's been fantastic all season, and yeah, it's really impressive. PSR and FRA are two fantastic teams, and I think the difference between maybe them and the rest is other teams just don't have those two consistent drivers. I think, Shizou have got Leopard, and then VLX have got Harris up there. But sometimes they're just missing them very second drivers, but Leopard has been fantastic all season. Same with Harris, the two of them really been mixing it up there every time, and once again tonight they've both got the pace for some pretty good results, I think.
DRS is now enabled this lap, which could help the likes of Matthew and Leopard keep up with the drivers ahead, because they were looking like they were going to drop off a little bit. Levi outside of this second of Otis for the battle for the lead, and Sider is already 2.3 seconds behind his teammate as well. We've got the ERL driver of Bartak has got a lot. We've not spoken much about him since the restart, since the safety car restart, but he's in a great position. He just needs to drive his own race, and he could see himself with some solid points tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another person who's in a good position is Piccolo as well on those medium compounded tyres. He might have to make an extra stop compared to the guys on the fresher hards. He's looking pretty good, as you can see. Bartek, Fraz and Piccolo all over the back of Magician at the moment. Those fresher tyres definitely playing dividends here, and I think we could see a move for P9 pretty soon.
And there's a time penalty for Steve there as well. He's put on 11 lap old hards, and Clenzo's put on 12 lap. Finn's got himself on 8 lap old mediums as well. This is not what they would have wanted at all for this WOR Legacy Division Championship. Harris then, I've kept on board with him for a little while, because he looks like he's just hovering around Matthew at the moment to try and get himself a run on the FRA driver, but it just seems like it's always never enough road for him to make a move.
Yeah, it's kind of been the story of the night for everyone. Every time I look on board with someone, I'm not really seeing any moves happen. It's maybe the straights are just a little bit too short, or yeah, it's just not really been happening, has it? So it's interesting to see if we can see that. Maybe we're now getting a bit later on. All drivers start to get a little bit more kind of ballsy now and start to go for these moves. Let's see. Just thinking of Bobby Leopard at the moment. Let's see what he can do. He's been the man we've been talking about for a lot of the night. He's a very good driver. He really delivers in the race, and he's been behind Cypher at the moment. After that poor start in the race, he kind of had to pay by sitting behind Cypher for this whole time. But ERS and DRS at the moment, and he definitely is closing the back of the Williams. So Williams is forced to defend to the inside for the first time this race. The Red Bull going round the outside. Can he make a move stick? Cypher, he shows them off the track in Lightfoot. I think he knows his place here. Unfortunately, he's going to have to settle for the P4 once again.
That was very close. And Leopard, I think it was one of those moments where it had to be then or never. He's got a lot of work to get himself into that position again, because Cyther has been defending and using his pace incredibly so far, but Leopard is keeping within 3/10 at every point in this track, and he's gone really wide, has Cyther into turn 13 there, and it could have cost Leopard some time.
Yeah, it definitely has. You can see he's dropped back slightly there. Matthews now, he'll be licking his lips at all of this as well. He'll be thinking, I need to try and get stuck in some of this action, because if these two trip over each other, It'll be Matthew picking up the pieces. But yeah, Leopard, as I mentioned there, he's definitely going for it. That's twice in one lap. He's tried to make moves, unfortunately, to no avail. But yeah, I think that might not be the last attempt there. Cypher, a big mistake coming through the tunnel where it allows Leopard to get back in contention of that DRS. And yeah, I think keep an eye on these guys, because I think we could see some fireworks pretty soon.
Yeah, and Scyther probably kicking himself with that mistake, because Leopard was outside of the DRS of Scyther, and now it's just brought it all back into play. And now Leopard will be, I'm certain, going for another attack. Let's go on board with Leopard as they round turns 13 into turn 3 and 4. He's a lot further back than he was last time around. Will he use his ERS? I don't think he is. I think he's just going to maybe use a little bit, but not as much as he was the lap before. He's just probably going to save a little bit and you know, scythe him up again for maybe a couple of laps time.
Yeah, I was just looking for the back as well. Piccolo was getting close as well, but it's a kind of similar story. All over the grid is just drivers maybe just not getting close enough. The DRS really not doing as much effect as they would like around 3 year ends, and yeah, it looks for some pretty frustrating watches at points. They get really close, but just not close enough as they come to the end of the straight. So yeah, it's unfortunate so far, isn't it? Leopard, once again though, I think he's just happy to sit behind me, trying and recharge up that ERS and go for an attack again pretty soon.
Now I do wonder if the safety car right in the middle there is going to change, as there's a yellow flag in the background. That looks like Amin who's around. Let's have a look. Is there is no front wing remaining on that Haas, and past go Passy as well. So that is not how Amin would have wanted his race to end, as that caused another safety car. It has. Now this could cause a little bit of a panic to the strategists for these guys.
Yeah, that has, but pretty, I see it earlier there, Otis and Levi both going to the pit lane. Cypher as well, he's going to have to bite the bullet and double stack, unfortunately, so he's now into the pit lane as well. So Otis Lawrence into the pit lane now. It's a medium compound tyres going on that Mercedes, and I think that'll be the same for everyone else here as well. Levi as well, he'll come into the very last, one of the last pit boxes, I should say, of the Williams medium tyre for him as well. Cypher, he's having a double stack. How much time will he lose? It doesn't seem to be an awful lot. It might get away with that one. Let's see if he comes out the pit lane. Is he ahead of Leopard? He is ahead of Leopard, very impressively he is. So there you have it. Cypher not losing too much time there with that double stack.
Yeah, I think Scyther backed up a certain amount, and I was before that safety car, I was going to mention if these hard runners were going to try and stay out as long as they can, maybe go on a set of softs towards the end of the race. That's not going to happen now. I'm in on a set of softs, as is Finn. But for the first time this race, we don't have an FRA driver leading the way.
Yes, and I think this is going to be very interesting now, because we've seen for the last 18 laps, overtaking doesn't come particularly easy now. And as much as Otis, as good as he is, and as the fresher tyres that he's on, I think it could definitely make for some pretty interesting racing here, because Maxi G will have DRS off Piccolo will have DRS off Prix. I think this could make Otis Lawrence's life a bit harder than he would probably have wanted.
Now, on Monday, we saw Otis obviously start from the back of the grid. He didn't. I don't want to say he made desperate moves, but his moves were crazy. Well, not crazy. That's not the right word. They were cold and calculated. Might be the right way to describe it. I know he can make the moves. There's only 3 drivers ahead of him, but how difficult will those guys make it? With this being a major team event as well, it's going to be a very, very interesting start. We've got to wait for Finn again going into the pit lane. So we'll probably get back underway at a lap 20. Obviously, they're just in the chat, who's Otis? Otis is FRA Elite, the guy that is absolutely dominating the Xbox scene right now.
So as Finn comes out of the pit lane there, that is his 5th stop of the race. So yeah, quite a lot there. And just for reference, we've only done 18 laps, so he's averaging a pit stop roughly every 4 laps. So yeah, it's been an interesting race for Finn so far. He started at the back, and unfortunately for him, I think he's unfortunately had a few repercussions for that one, been caught up in a few incidents, and yeah, finds himself still plumb last.
Not what he would have wanted, but But those hards, that will be on in the end, will be probably the race tyre to be on. 11 laps on mediums would be acceptable, but it's not what you really would want.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. We're seeing a lot of these guys coming on old tyres they've already used. They're just running out of tyres altogether. So yeah, it's quite funny to see. So yeah, I think you're right. Finn, he's going to go to the end now, but I think it's the pace is going to be the issue, isn't it? Everyone else is on these fresh mediums for the most part, which are all going to the end. So yeah, I think he's got a long road ahead of him, unfortunately.
Time will tell, and VSR Finn. Time will tell if he catches up to the back of the safety car in time for the safety car restart. And yeah, we are definitely looking for a little bit of a longer night than we would have wanted. Lap 19 of 31. Singapore brings these sort of races to us, but it's going to be another entertaining start. I am certain of it.
Yeah, you mentioned that there, 5 to 9 here in the UK. So we've been racing for roughly about 2 hours, including qualifying. So it just shows you how good these drivers are, how on it they have to be. Qualifying's taking roughly an hour, then there's a bit of a delay between qualifying and the race, and then they have to be on it once again for the race. Safety cars as well, they can interrupt the flow of it all, and yeah, it's a tough night for these drivers tonight, but for the most part they've all really delivered. It's been a really high quality of driving so far, and with 12 laps to go, I think that can all change though.
There is so much still to be said, and I mentioned in qualifying that these guys, some of these guys had to switch off. Qualifying over, they got knocked out in Q1 and get themselves back going again. But it's a similar situation here. There's 2 safety cars, and it's broken up the race, so they've got to really think about it.
Yeah, they definitely do, and I think you asked the question earlier. I think it'd be interesting to see how much these guys do fight, because as much as it's not their race, it'll be interesting to see if they still think, this is track position, I'm going to put up a fight, or they'll just go, right, this is not my place to fight it. They might just wave these guys in the fresh mediums through, and it'll be slightly more disappointing. But if they do decide to put up a fight, I think it gives a huge opportunity for Levi, Scyther, Leopard to maybe try and pounce, try and get a few positions on each other. We've seen it in Abu Dhabi. I think it was FRA Elite was at the time. Otis Lawrence was making a move on a kind of slightly slower car on the tyres, and they kind of got held up a little bit. They allowed Scyther to then get in and make a move. And I think we could maybe see a repeat here tonight. Maybe this time with Levi, if he can be aware, if he can be on it, if he can be alert. I think we could possibly see Levi make a shock move on Otis.
Levi will have a fair bit of work to do if he was to get that to happen. But he's shown pace. He's if he can catch Otis out, if it really does depend on how they do the safety car restart. Like you mentioned, it's going to be an interesting one. And if Levi can get ahead of Otis, how does that flip the race on its head? Well, again, I keep on saying it, time will tell it, but it's going to be an interesting conundrum if it happens.
Yes, unfortunately we're still waiting for VSR at the moment. He's certainly taking his time, isn't he? But I think the safety car will be in this lap no matter what. I think it would be slightly cruel to make us sit and wait for an extra lap. So I think unfortunately for Finn, he's not going to be able to catch up. But I think it's just not been Finn's night, has it? He's pitted again, by the way. So he's made 6 stops this lap. As you can see, race control, safety car in this lap. So we've been waiting for a long time, but patience is coming back to us now, and it'll be interesting to see this restart now.
So for the first time tonight, we've got Bartek Fraser setting us off, and he doesn't have to pit again. Those hards will go to the end, so he's going to be a massive cork in the bottle to some of these drivers. And if Piccolo and Maxi don't perform well off the go, and Otis takes a little while to get past, Bartek is going to be in a good position to get a good haul of points. But he's going slow at the moment through turn 19 into turn 20. Does he leave it ultra late like Otis did, or does he decide to go a little bit earlier on? Let's have a look at the view from Maxi's side. At the moment, Bartek still warming those tyres up as much as he can. When does he decide to go? It's gone now, and look at this. Maxi's already side by side with Piccolo down the start finish straight. Otis is already in there as well. Surely not. Otis up the inside of 2 drivers and makes the move the first lap after the safety car.
Yeah, unbelievable from Otis there. 21, it normally doesn't go. He made it work. 2 positions there, and he's all over the back of Bartek Franz as well. Look at that, it's already up into P1. It's 3 positions in the space of 1 sector. It's unbelievable stuff from Otis Lawrence. Looking further back as well. Levi, he's in the scrap with the Haas, gone round outside into turn 7. Can he make the move? He just about managed to make it work as well. Cypher, he's looking to get stuck in as well. He sends it up the inside. He's just about being left in room. There's a bit of contact between the 2 of them there, which leaves room for Leopard as well. He's now got his nose up the inside there. This Haas is causing chaos at the moment, but it's allowed Leopard to move up into P5. The Haas moved over to the left. Can Leopard go round the outside into here? You would normally see an overtake here, but Leopard, he's absolutely done it. Up into P4 goes the Red Bull.
Wow, and that, wow, wow, oh! What have we just seen there? Leopard out of the race, wow.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Going into the hairpin there. I'm not too sure what's happened, but there was cars going all rows, wasn't there? I think Cypher's got damage. I think we've got another safety car. Unbelievable. But I think Cypher has made it. I think Cypher's might have damage. Leopard hero to 0, literally in a matter of moments. And yeah, that absolute chaos here on that safety car restart.
I really don't know what happened there, but yeah, Cider, no front wing, safety car. But Otis, what a start. What an absolute start from that. That was incredible from the FRA driver. Up 2 places into turn 1, and then before sector 1 finished, he was a race leader again.
He's ridiculous, isn't he? I think most people, even in his position, you don't go for that move. You know, that's 3 going into turn 1. It's such a big risk. But nonetheless, he went for it, didn't he? And it was fantastic from Otis. That maybe we just got to separate him. Levi as well, he's managed to avoid all the chaos. But unfortunately, he can't be said for his teammate Cypher down in P15 now as well. FCR Leopard. Let's first of all talk about how good he was on that restart. A great move on Cypher, and a fantastic move on the Haas. I think it was on Maxi G. I think it was a little wrong there, but a fantastic move nonetheless. Goes into the old Singapore Slinger turn 10. And then it all went wrong. He got hit up the rear end going into turn 13. He found himself in the wall, out of the race, and yeah, very cool way to end the race, because that was definitely not what he deserved.
No, definitely not. And Quantum out of the race as well. I'm not sure what happened there. I was still trying to comprehend what happened at turn 13, which was, well, they say 13 is unlucky for some. It was unlucky, definitely, for poor old LCR Leopard, who'd finally got past Cider and we were just about to see his true race pace, whether it was quicker than Cider or not, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely was a tough one to take, but now it leaves it a little bit open, this race, isn't it? Because we've got Otis, Levi and a few others all on fresh mediums. We've got Piccolo on old hards. We've got Bartek Franz on old hards in P3. Then we've got a lot of guys on fresh softs. We've also got Maxi G on the old hards as well, down in P9. And a lot of people on the fresh softs as well, making their notes. Cypher as well, how he's been up there all race. I wouldn't say he's been quick, but he's definitely been up there all race. He'll be looking good. VSR Finn somehow in P10 after the 6 stops he's made this race. He's now in the points. He's got to be P9 after the stop made by I think is it Amine there, yeah. So Finn's now in the points. Cleanso as well, he's up into P. No, he's not. He's now also pitted as Cleanso. So yeah, a lot's going on here, but yeah, we're going to be 8 laps to go in the go race, and it's going to be pretty exciting to watch.
I think this is the first time since maybe a lap. No, I think this could be the first time that we see VSR Finn inside the top 10 tonight, even inside the top 15. So he's probably far happier than he was a few laps ago. Cider is into the pit lane. Set of mediums for him. Connor has left the session, but he's currently in P7, so that's probably not great there.
Yeah, try and get back in.
I'm not 100%. You know, I don't know what happened for that incident at turn 13. I don't want to say anything at all because I could very well be wrong, but there seems to be 2 conflicting stories right now, and I only saw one of them, so not 100% sure. But odd to see Piccolo in P6 not pit for something a little bit fresher.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what he's doing there, but I think it's going to cause chaos because I didn't actually fully see the incident with Leopard. After Leopard moved, I kind of looked away and looked somewhere else, and I just got the end of it. So yeah, I'm not too sure what happens. Unfortunately, I really can't comment on it, but that all kind of came from drivers on slower tyres. That's kind of where the chaos came from. And I think it's going to be the exact same again. We've got Bartek Fraz on these old tires. We've got Shizu Piccolo on the old mediums. Maxi G on the old tires with a bunch of guys in fresh softs behind them. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Cypher, interestingly enough as well, he's ready to pit for old medium tyres as well. So yeah, he does not want to be on the soft Cumberland tyres. With the safety car coming in this lap, 8 laps to go, this should be good final laps for this race.
Yeah, finally back underway racing. 3 safety cars here on the first night of Singapore, of my first night in Legacy Division at Singapore. Otis Lawrence again, FRA Elite for some of you who don't know, will be the safety car for the second time, but out for the third time of it. The safety car is into the pit lane now. When does Elite go? He's gone early this time and left people hanging a little bit. There's no safety car overtakes this time around, but can FRA Matthew get past Bartek Fraser as he's going up the inside into turn 1? The FRA driver has gone into P3, and it's as they were from qualifying.
VSR Finn as well, the man that's made 6 stops this race, up into P8, making the most of those fresh soft compounded tyres, looking for the battle for P10 as well. It's definitely hyping up Aston Martin versus the McLaren, and it is Steve just about making the move. He's gave a lot of a squeeze to Magician as well. They come down the straight, they go. It's side by side between the two of them, no DRS just yet, so it's purely on straight line speed. The McLaren with the inside, can he make the move? Nicky's brake late, has it been too late? He's just about gave enough room for the Aston Martin. Never mind, he's pushed him off there. It now turns to the inside for the Aston Martin. It's still side by side between the two of them, but as it all filters out, it is the McLaren who eventually gets that point to position.
Yeah, Magician trying to have a swing at Maxi as well, but it wasn't going to happen through into turn number 10 there, the Old Singapore Sling. And wow, what an entertaining bit there. And around the outside, Magician has gone. He's using those fresh tyres for an advantage there, and he's into P9 now. And Maxi really, really struggling in comparison to everyone else right now.
Yeah, he definitely is. Clenzo, well, unfortunately for him, has found himself in P5 going down the inside of Cypher at the moment. P15, I should say, for Clenzo, sorry. He's went P15, a bit of contact between him and Cypher. And yeah, Clenzo, it's been a really tough race. Oh my god, I'm not too sure if it's like this on your screen, but I've got Clenzo inside of Cypher.
I've moved back to Steve and Maxi because there's a car on top of each other. What on earth?
Yeah.
Right, let's go back to let's go back and see what Harris has done. He's got past Bartek Fraser and he's trying to chase down Matthew. He's in a good position at the moment, and I'll try and regain my composure a little bit as they come through. But Otis hasn't thrown away from Otis right now.
No, he's definitely not. He's for the first time we've probably seen Levi a bit closer than normal, but just not close enough. Just looking as well at ERL Connor on P7. Can he go for a move for P6? He looks to him the inside, but probably just not with enough conviction to pose any threat on Shizu Piccolo. But he'll be looking to try and get past pretty soon because those fresher mediums definitely have the pace advantage.
Let's see what is going on for Clenzo right now. He's now detached himself from Cyther as the two FGE drivers swapping positions. So Steve maybe not comfortable on the softs, and he's dropping back a little bit.
Yes, ERL Connor once again in P7 all over the back on the Red Bull Shizu Piccolo. He's done a great job of defending here, but I think that may come to the end pretty soon. But Connor is not really much of a threat once again on that Red Bull, and unfortunately for Connor, he's going to have to stay and be looking at that Oracle Red Bull for the next sector or two.
He's going to try and get a position somewhere or other through here, but he's got Finn behind him who's much better. There's a little bit of contact to the back end of the Red Bull, and Connor maybe having cost him a little bit of time there as well. DRS is back enabled this lap, which should help a little bit of an overtaking position. Bartek Fraser on 15 lap old hards. Probably not many of those though mind you, under racing conditions, so they're still pretty fresh, but they are very, very slow to heat up. No overtaking in the background. There was, as Steve and Colenso getting very, very close. As Colenso finally gets past the Aston Martin driver, is there anything else in the background? And now Alpine of Passy nearly losing it massively at turn 2.
Yes, just looking aboard with VSR Finn at the moment on the soft compounded tyres. Conor Eddy is the man in front of him. He'll be looking to try and get past him pretty soon. He's not going side by side yet, but those soft tyres with the grip advantage, he makes the most of them. He brakes late, Conor gives them the room, and there you have it. VSR Finn up into P7.
This could be a tactical position there for Conor, because he's probably noticing Finn is really, really quick, as there it goes, Colenso out of the race, and that hopefully won't cause another safety car. It probably won't this late on, but Finn obviously being quicker on those soft tyres, and up the inside, out of nowhere, Magician gets past Conor as well, and probably caught Conor sleeping a little bit.
Yeah, I think he'd said, unfortunately for Conor on those fresh mediums, it just looks to be going back really now, as the guys on these fresh soft company tyres are starting to kind of come up, and really enter the framework for some serious points now.
Piccolo still holding on to the DRS of Bartek ahead, but as soon as that goes, I think he's going to be under massive pressure from VSR Finn behind. Let's go on board with Finn, but at the moment I think it's just safe for Piccolo as he rounds turns 22 and 23. DRS has been opened back up, and those mediums still slowly working for now.
Oh, ET Passy there, a big crash in the final sector. That is also with the Aston Martin of FGE. Steve, as is another safety car, is out. The fourth safety car of the race is out with 4 laps to go. Oh wow, that is a real spanner in the works now for the outcome of this race. And if you're about to turn off the stream now, ladies and gentlemen, I would keep it on now, because with 4 laps to go, it is certainly all to play for.
Lap 27 of 31, we've hit the 4th safety car of the night. Wow.
Yes, it's a tough one, isn't it? 4 safety cars, I think that's the maximum you're allowed in a race. I think that's the maximum Codemasters have got for a 50% race. So yeah, it's impressive stuff. Every crash, I've seen the outcome of a safety car. So it's interesting, but it definitely leaves it pretty. I'll leave it pretty open for the final of this race. It gives Levi a huge chance to see if he can cement any sort of move on Otis, but Otis has looked pretty untouchable all race. But you look as well, VSR Finn, the man that's made the 7 stops this race and has never really been in the points until now, he's got a real good chance of scoring some good points, and as well as that Magician as well, and those fresh soft compound tyres could be looking to score some good points for BRP as well.
Well, these incidents, Leopard as well, massive loss for Shazoo, points there. Quantum as well, VLX Quantum would look like he was going to get some decent points. There's no pit there for Otis. He was toying again with Levi. But I was going to say, does some of these drivers, look at Bartak, does he decide to pit on those hard tyres to something fresh? Piccolo on those more and more worn medium compounds?
Yeah, his Magician is actually coming out with pit lane, which is really surprising, because he's going to fall out of the points there. He's sitting in P7 and he's now coming into the pit lane. Unless he had wind damage, I'm not too sure what they need in that pit stop is. And there's no wind change, so it's just exactly for tyres. So yeah, it's a strange one there. He's dropped to now P11. I know he's got the fresh soft coming in the tyres, but we're not going to be racing for long. It'll be maybe 1 or 2 laps at the most. So yeah, strange call there from the ERP driver.
Well, after the last 2 safety car restarts and the chaos that ensued, maybe he's thinking that this will be the best strategy for him. This now is going to be an interesting, I think we'll get racing at lap 30. I think that's the latest it can go. So we'll have 2 laps of racing, no DRS, which will be crucial.
Yeah, that's a very good point actually, and I think that's probably a bit of a downer now when I think about it, because you've seen how hard it is to overtake with DRS. We've not seen an awful lot of on-track battle in the 31 laps we've had around here, so now without any DRS, yes, this could be a pretty tough last few laps for these guys that are trying to make some moves.
Now, at the moment, qualifying positions are as they are for the top three, or as they were. Let's have that's 6 stops for Finn, 5 stops for Amin, 6 stops for Colenso. Oh dear. But Finn, out of all that, is up 12 places. He'll be relatively happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned at the start as well how hard it would be for Finn and Colenso around here. And we've seen that with Colenso, he's been involved in a lot of incidents, a lot of crashes tonight. But so is Finn, to be honest with you. But he's been there when it's mattered. And I think that's all it's been. He's kept it without any penalties. And he's stayed on the track, he's stayed with 4 wheels on the car, and that's been the most important thing. And he's reaping the rewards now. If he keeps going the way he is, he'll be on for a pretty good points haul at the moment, which is pretty impressive considering everything that he's been through.
Okay, it's Pat Ledger going into the pits. I was wondering what positional changes was going on under the safety car, but that is the reason there. And a comment in the chat saying he's barely lost any positions, but would be so much quicker than everyone in front. But as Callum has quite rightly said, it's difficult to overtake at Singapore without DRS, and we're not going to get DRS coverage here towards the end of the race. So I mean, Cyber there, P11, not the race he would have wanted, especially the second half. But his pace didn't seem to be there.
Yeah, you're probably right, and I think it's a good point though, and I think Griffiths has said it, so it's a good point. Those fresh softs I think probably make a bigger difference, and maybe we realise, I think he's on maybe 6 or 7 lap old softs he would be on now, so yeah, it was a good point. I think he was P8 or P7 at the time of his pit stop, so yeah, he's got a little bit of making up to do, because I think the safety car will be in this lap no matter what, so it's going to be 2 laps of flat out racing. And yeah, that's not a lot of laps times to make up a few good positions.
Definitely not. Otis Lawrence then leading the way under safety car. He's led the majority of this race. There was a short period when he wasn't leading the race, but he made sure of that it wasn't going to be very long. It was pretty much the safety car period that he wasn't leading a race, which is incredible.
Yeah, and then the moves that he made to get to the lead of the race were just sublime out of this world, and now it's gave him this kind of pretty good opportunity now to win the race. He's been so dominant all through it, and with one last restart to go out, a possible 4, he is just 2 laps to go now for a possible 25 points in the bag for himself and FIA.
So Otis is holding the grid back a little bit, waiting to get the safety car in. I haven't seen the message that it was coming in this lap. Which is odd. I'm hoping it's coming in this lap. Anyway, we've seen different styles of going for Otis this race already, and we will wait and see how it will pan out this time for Otis. When will he go? He went early the last time, he went late the first time. When does he go this time? Let's look at it from Matthew's point of view, and it's gone for Otis, but I don't think it's been a relatively good start from Matthew either. He's under pressure from VLX Harris, who's looked pretty impressive this race. Anything in the background, Finn trying to get a go on Piccolo into turn 1. The Ferrari driver, Ferrari Red Bull battling side by side. There was a little bit of contact, and eventually they stayed in the same position, but Amin up into P8, Connor down to P9, and Magician trying to get himself in swing of things as well, side by side, but there goes Scyther as well. It's chaos.
Yeah, absolutely is chaos inside that. He's right in the heart of all of it at the moment. It's side by side, it's nearly 4 wide, it looks like it. There's a Haas and that Alpha going up front as well, and there's Scyther going round outside as well for P11. Just looking up at front as well, Amine up into P8. You then got Magician and Alpha Tauri VL Connor going side by side as well. It's all kicking off here at the lower end of the points positions. It's Magician up into P9, it's Connor P10, Scyther P11 as well, but he's going to try and make P10 here. He's not going to go down the inside there, surely. No, he thinks better of that one. But yeah, it's all kicking off here at the lower reaches of the points.
Oh, he's made it around the outside of turn 11, has Scyther, and that is into the points positions for him. Amin, and around goes Maxi at turn 13. A yellow flag caused there, and here comes Scyther up the inside of the Haas driver, desperately trying to make some positional gains there, and Amin hitting the wall, but there's nothing doing on this occasion. And I've left the front runners because there is nothing really they are doing. Otis has run off, Levi's semi-run off, and Matthew is just holding off Harris at the moment.
Yeah, it makes it for pretty interesting racing. As you're looking at the moment, Magician over the back of VSR Finn. Finn, he's done so well this race, considering he's on the points now. But Magician, he's running wide. They've nearly gone off the track. He picks up a 3-second time penalty. Flores, what he's going to try and make do with that going down the inside now. Could there be contact? Finn, he does give him the space for that. He's been pushed off wide, unfortunately. So Finn down into P8 now, but Magician on the back of the Red Bull as well. He'll be looking to make up into P6 now. Piccolo on those older medium tyres. I think he'll be looking at his mirrors now and trying. There's a bit of damage limitation for the Red Bull.
Yeah, the Red Bull driver is, well, both him and Magician have penalties to their name, and in the background Amin and Sider having a very, very slalomed race there. Yellow flags, and I think that's possibly Maxi causing that. But look at Sider, so much more grip. He's going to go around the outside, or attempt to, at turn 9, but there's nothing doing on this occasion. We are on the final lap, by the way. Where will Sider make a move? Magician gets past Piccolo here for P6, but those penalties are going to cost them big time. There's nothing Sider can do at the moment. Does he dive up the inside? He goes very wide into the entry of turn 13, and there's just nothing doing for him at the moment.
Yeah, Magician at the moment, P6, as much as in P6, that 3-second time penalty is really going to hurt him at the moment. But yeah, just briefly talking about up front, we've not seen too much action, and when just under half a sector to go, it looks like Otis Lawrence, the win is going to his name.
As much as I'd love to stay on board with this chaotic middle part of the race, I am going to go on board with the race leader very, very soon. Sider is desperately trying to get past the VSR Finn, but it's all about Otis Lawrence. Another victory for FRA. Levi in second, and third place going to Matthew. Harris then crossing the line in fourth. Bartek Fraser going fifth. GGYT Magician. And there is Sider's car. Absolutely destroyed in there. But Sider coming home in P7 there. With VSR Finn, great recovery.
Yes, absolutely. Some great results all over the field. The first points for Bungar Racing Team, and that comes in the manner of GGYT Magician. A P8 for him. He has himself and the team 4 points. So big congratulations to them. Amine as well. Amin for Novus Racing picks up their second points of the season, 2 consecutive points finishes for them in World. So yeah, some very good results through there. A very good race as well as that.
Absolutely chaos at Singapore. I'll tell you what, probably safest we won't do any podium questions this week because of controversy. Anyway, we will go down the order very, very soon as we wait for Maxi to actually finish, Maxi G to finish the race. Let's go on board with the driver as going through 22.
Oh, great, yeah.
Is it donuts? It is donuts indeed, for the last place finisher, and we could. There we go. It might make its way onto an intro one day. You never know. But poor old Maxi G not having the best of lucks here, and involved in some controversy themselves. And I mean. Just waiting. But Matthew does want an interview, so we might have to invite Matthew in and have a chat with him. I don't know if anyone else will. If we invite them into the party, then we'll definitely get something. I mean, those guys weren't really involved in too much controversy, so the top 3 we might have a chat with. But we'll run down the order here. Which is this Singapore Grand Prix has been absolutely mental. Clenzo gets driver of the day from the game. We'll talk about our driver of the day very, very shortly, but we will see Otis Lawrence pick up another race victory in whatever league he decides to take part in, because he has been phenomenal so far. So it's Otis Lawrence that takes victory, with Levi in second, and third place going to FRA Matthew. Those 3 started exactly where they finished exactly where they started, on a one-stop strategy as well. Harris in 4th place there. In 5th place was Bartak, VSR Finn in 6th, Sider in 7th, 8th to Magician, 9th to Amin, and 10th to Connor. Rounding out the rest of the finishers, it was Pat Ledger, Piccolo, Clenzo and Steve, with non-finishers to Passy, Quantum, Leopard, Andrea, Luca and Maxi G. Now, I suppose it's best now to ask driver of the day from your point of view.
I'm not. I think is I want to say always fantastic ride, but I'm not going to say him because it's a casual thing for him to win these days. I'm going to give it to VSR Finn. I'm not going to say because I don't think it was his best race in terms of pure quality, but I just think he deserves it for just sticking in there. He was last basically all race. I mean, 6 pit stops is pretty remarkable. But yeah, I think he leaked the WOR awards now. Coming home in P6 is a pretty good result for him. A pretty good result for VSR as well.
There we go. We're getting them into the party now, as you can hear with the bleeps from that side. So I tell you what, Callum, I'll let you start off with the podium questions.
Yep, well, Efra Matthew, we'll start with you, mate. It's a P3.
Hello.
P3 and then for you, mate. Just talk us through how you're feeling after that one.
It's a big relief after, well, quali was, it could have been P2, but invalidating the last run wasn't the best. And then trying to stay with the front two. I know Elite's pace is elite, and I know Singapore was, if not Levi's best track, so I knew trying to stay with the front two was going to be very difficult. And then I had like a half spin, sort of, which dropped me back behind Leopard and Skeeter, and then overtaking around this track is pretty difficult. But then Skeeter and Leopard and whatever other car had some mad incident. I just took advantage of that, and I just had to secure for P3 because I knew I didn't want to push because I was on 2 1s, so I didn't want to risk any penalties.
Okay. So you kind of slightly mentioned it there. You had that spin, and also the kind of the 4 safety cars in that race. It kind of makes it a bit harder. How tough is it doing a race? It's not an easy race to do. It's a long race. How much harder is it with those 4 extra safety cars as well? Does it kind of disrupt the momentum a little bit?
Yeah, because well, when you're driving, you normally get into a rhythm. It's a lot easier to do lap after lap. But if the race has just been stop and start and stop and start, it just messes everything up. Not the nicest, but it's what you expect. It is Singapore at the end of the day. You expect safety cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all from me. Unless Warder, you have anything to ask?
I was just going to say, just to cover up with it, with how tough it was, Singapore, 4 safety cars. I mean, were you expecting that many safety cars at the start?
I was a little bit. I don't think I was expecting more, but I was expecting a few. Singapore's, especially the last sector and one of the corners in the middle sector. When your tyres are pretty much shot, it's pretty difficult to get around there.
And obviously, you mentioned weight off your shoulders for some decent points for FRA. Extends the FRA charge at the top of the overall constructors, and it must be a good feeling. I know you've already mentioned it, but a 1 and 3 next week. Are we expecting a 1 and 2?
I hope so. I can't see why we couldn't. We have the drivers for it. We all have the pace, so I believe we can get a 1-2.
All right. Thank you very much, Matthew, and Callum. Back to you for the next.
Thank you.
Well, Levi, it was P2 for you, mate. Just talk us through how you're feeling after that pretty tough few hours from yourself.
Yeah, it was a bit mad. I was pushing so unbelievably hard, you don't understand. Like, there was times on all of the safety car restarts where the gap to Elite was like 1.2, 0.3 seconds. It was just so frustrating missing out on that DRS, because I knew if I got the DRS I might be within a chance to just even hold on to him, but I knew realistically he was untouchable. He's untouchable at every track pretty much, so I knew I was pretty much just fighting for second place, but I'm very happy with my pace today, very happy.
Yeah, as you should be. You kind of mentioned it slightly, but with 2 laps to go, the safety car was just about to come in. Did you think there might have been a glimmer of a chance of getting notice, or were you just thinking he's just not my race today?
I mean, I always said, I was saying since the start of the race to our team bosses, Wexer, what do you reckon my strategy should be? Should I go for Elite or should I just console a P2? We were both saying if it's there, I should go for it, but the opportunity didn't come, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a tough race.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about Wexford there, your team boss. What is the aim this season as PSR as a collective? Are you trying to win this thing, or do you think, with the dominance of Otis, do you think that could possibly be out of reach?
I mean, PSR, we're obviously going to go for the win, otherwise we wouldn't be here. We're here to win and nothing but to win. But obviously everyone knows Otis's pace. It's incredible. So it's definitely going to be very tough, but we're going to give it the best shot we can.
Yeah, definitely. That's the right spirit to have it in. Well, thanks very much for that, and I'll pass it over to Warder.
Yeah, just one from me, Levi. Congratulations on your second place. I've picked up from Matthew saying it's one of your favoured tracks and one of your quickest. Did you think that you would be able to battle with Otis this time and possibly take a victory? Did you think that was within your grasp?
It was definitely my aim. Obviously, like I said, I knew he was going to be very, very quick. So if I was going to be going for the win, I would have to be no mistakes, consistent every single lap, and pushing 100%, which I was. But just not enough pace to keep up with Otis, unfortunately. But I'll give it my best shot.
Congratulations on your second place finish, Levi, and good luck from the remainder, for both you and Matthew, for the remainder of the series, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Yeah, cheers, man.
And Callum, back over to you for our race winner.
Well, Otis, I think you had to wait a long one for that one, but it always looked in control. How did that feel for you for that race?
It was a very good race, to be honest. Very difficult. Levi pushed me to my absolute limits that race, to be honest with you. That's probably one of the hardest I've ever pushed in the race this game. So
achievement unlocked.
It's very yeah, I'm very happy with the result. Very happy with the result.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a point in that race you found yourself in P4 after a safety car, and going into turn one, you made two moves into one corner. Just talk us through what were you thinking there going for that move?
I was like, oh, that's an insane move, innit? Joseph was like, oh, that's like insane, and I was pretty happy to get that pulled off because end up gapping Levi then because of the hard run was in front of him. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with that move.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one last one from me. Obviously, with a lot of safety cars tonight, was there ever any moments you were thinking, oh, maybe tonight's not my night? Was there any moments you thought the race win could be in doubt?
Well, not really, because it's a very hard track to overtake. The safety cars were frustrating, though, to be honest with you, because build a gap and then safety car comes out. But it's, it happens. It's a street circuit, A lot of crashes can happen, but yeah, no doubts.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's all from me. I'll hand it over to Warder.
Otis, you have been nigh on impossible to beat. I mean, I don't want to say how do you do it, because that's a very easy question to ask. But I mean, how do you produce time and time again just perfect sectors, perfect laps, perfect overtaking opportunities like into turn one tonight?
A lot of time put in the game, really. That's one of the main things. This game really suits my driving style as well, I find, because I use the higher gears, and just suits me this game a lot, and I practice a lot. It really suits me and stuff. So that's probably why.
Just don't go outside, basically.
Shut up, Matty.
Lastly, from myself on this one, obviously, FRA looking incredible. Are you going to try and clean sweep this?
I'll try.
Wow. That's just as simple as that. Congratulations on your victory. To be honest, I don't really think it was ever in doubt at any point there. Levi gave as good as he got, good as he could, but it was a phenomenal race. So congratulations and good luck from the remainder of the season.
Thank you.
Right, Callum, it's now down to us to finish it all off. Final words for that one, because as chaotic as it was still rather entertaining.
Yeah, it certainly was. I think maybe up front we didn't get the action we would have maybe wanted, but the midfield, the lower half, it certainly did entertain, and I think there'll be a few stewards reports coming in tonight.
Definitely a fair few. Callum, it's been amazing having you in the com box alongside myself. I can understand why so many people say Callum Goat. For myself, I am not back for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I'm gutted I am missing it. However, I will definitely be putting it on and hoping to see similar action to this one because, well, without all the controversy, it was still incredible nonetheless. But from ourselves here at WR Legacy Division, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.